This is Future Sight, a Warmachine Hordes show covering games, events, theory, the meta and more. If you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content at KS Wargaming. Thanks and enjoy.
That's on.
Just one model.
Yeah.
It looked like a perfect landing spot, like there was a helicopter to land or something.
Yep.
Pretty funny, yeah.
Right, hello guys, hello. We are live. So welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. So this is Mucha Libre in for the third VTC win. So welcome guys and congratulations first of all. So
thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
We got who was your captain? Is it Tomasz? Is that why you're Mucha Libre? I know the name changed last year halfway through.
No, it was me. Just anything Mucha related is funny. So.
It's just not the funniest.
We went through, he has the best name. We had a lot of Mucha based jokes we were trying to come up with.
Yeah,
like last year we would. Well, I won't say it, but
I think it's second year.
And a lot of pictures of you all as masked up. That was definitely entertaining to watch in the last round as you were sort of spamming pictures of your Mexican wrestling counterparts.
Yeah, I was furiously creating the Justin one just behind the scenes. There was a lot going on.
That's cool.
Yes, there was some high-level strategic decisions.
So if you want to,
I think you'll find that I put more effort into those than we did in like our list.
The rest of the stuff. Do you guys want to introduce yourself then, and we'll start talking some shop. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll go first. My name is Daniel Bergström, and I mostly play Signar.
Cool. You're basically like pretty famous for the siege trick, right? And guess now other casters have snuck in.
Yeah, I mean, largely that. Yeah. I guess we'll come back to talk about some about the lists later on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Per?
Yeah, my name is Per Nilsson Sandin. I play Protectorate and Retribution, and I play Protectorate this time around.
And then Golly?
I'm Matt Gallagher. I've played a bunch of different things, but probably most recently Signar. For Mark 3 anyway.
You've played an awful lot of Signar compared to everything else though, right?
Recently, yeah. Definitely more Signar than anything.
Yeah, cool. Justin? Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say this time I did play Signar, but
yeah.
I do change quite often.
Justin?
Yeah, so I'm Justin Dew. I'm probably most known for playing Harbinger, the faction. But recently, very, very recently, I'm on Mercs and Strange Bedfellows.
Cool. And then Tomasz?
So I'm Tomasz Mucha. I'm from Poland, and I mostly play Circle, but I also played Infernals.
Infernal. So are Infernals like off the board until something new comes out for them?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god, don't start him on this again.
I guess I'm opening a big fucking a big trap. I guess. So yeah, let's avoid Infernals and go for congratulations guys. Obviously, VTC started and you are the first one. You kind of were like a late addition, right, as a team. Where it was like some of you that were in the team, but you kind of filled the last gap, right? So you were the only team in the first VTC that was like a random sort of selection of nationalities rather than countries team. Was that right?
No, in the very first one, I think we all played our own country's teams. I definitely played for England.
And then the second one, you came together as this team as it was, sort of thing.
Yeah, once they kind of opened it up to everyone, we just kind of reached out to friends. And that's kind of how we all got together.
That's pretty cool. That's cool. So the first question then is if you would all like ignore whatever sort of work and finance and family stuff you've got, if you could all sit in the same country and play for a WTC game together, would that be an option, or would you be like, oh, you've got to apply for England and Poland and?
I would play. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I would, yeah.
Well, there's enough
Yeah,
Polish
it's like
teams,
a real
right?
wrestling outfit and everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we
The
turn up in
shirts
person
would
with
be epic,
wrestling
right?
outfits.
Yeah. Imagine our entrance. Have you seen Cobra Kai? Those guys.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So well done. Obviously, you did. It's a bit smaller this year. Obviously, as people are starting to get back into real conventions and gaming. But it's still like some really like quality competition, right? Some big names and stuff. So obviously, the first round, if you haven't seen the VTC, is played over like a league format, so you get a week to play it. I streamed. I think I streamed like 4 games in the first week. I think I streamed about 18 games last year, so there's like a lot less choice. But that was because I was like just more available last year. People were playing like madness. But yeah, if do you want to talk through before we start talking about games? Do you want to talk through your lists and like any thought, the deep strategy and thought that went into your list selections?
So
I
I can go. Yeah, I can go first. So, due to kind of personal and real life reasons, I haven't really been able to play a lot during basically the last 6 months since the last VTC. So, it was mostly just the process of adapting my old lists to the new updated points costs. I don't think I really did any major change to the contents of the lists. And actually, I think that speaks for one of the things I really like with the Warmachine, that you can actually have a pair that may not be kind of the newest and greatest, but if you've played it enough, you can still compete with other people. And I think that's kind of a great benefit of the game.
So how many points free did you come back and change the Flames list for? Because I know I talked with Golly about this the other week, that like I think Golly, you had like 20 odd points.
Yeah, my list went down like 19 points or something.
Ridiculous. Was yours anywhere close to that?
No, so in my case, actually, both of my lists probably got a bit worse, and that is just because how everything added up. So I played a Siege, very classic Siege 1 list with Nemo and a battle engine and some shooty heavies, and basically Alexia just trying to hold the door in a scenario. Due to the way the battle group points worked out, I basically had to either bring a third jack or start spending on a more expensive heavy, rather than just having a charge. I think in the kind of a meta context, the old list was more efficient in that regard. But I think other lists benefited a lot more than I did from the update.
Well,
and my other list was I
was going to say, I guess at least in the other list, Thamite Archons have the wonder turn every turn from now. Like,
yeah. I mean, if you get it into the right position, definitely. They have, and with Snipe from Striker 1, it's obviously very strong.
Yeah.
So, but that Theme Force actually didn't really get any points deductions that were meaningful. There was like a few points on the blockade or something like that, if even. And the Archons went up in points, and the main troops they got the extra move from Shield Wall, but that was basically the changes. So they were largely unaffected.
Yeah.
By the update.
That's the first thing on this. Do you want to go straight into Golly? Do you want to go into your list as well? So obviously that was Siege 1 and Striker 1.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No, sure. So I hadn't played, it's the same like Dan, with stuff opening up. I've been playing games in person and doing other stuff, so I haven't really played that much. But one thing I did notice from the update, just having a quick glance over it, was that it seemed like infantry was going to be more the meta again. And for the longest time, I played about 3-4 years of Haley 3. And she's both a good infantry caster and good against other infantry.
Yeah.
And so I just took my old list in Warroom and saw it had gone down. There's a stupid amount of points. It was like 19 points or something. So I just put some new toys in that I thought I'd like to try out and stuff, and gave it a couple of games. It seemed really strong. That was my main list, and then I was just looking for things that would be weak into, like in the meta. And the big thing that came for me was Karchev 2, or Karchev Deathjack, whatever he is. And so I just went out of my way to make a list that I thought would be the best possible answer.
Yeah, you just wanted to shit on him with your off list, basically.
Yeah, he was the main thing I was scared of that
Yeah.
I knew was going to be a meta thing. So I went for Nemo because you got some disruption, some crit disruption, and just really hard hitting shooting, and you don't have to tangle with all those jacks in combat, which seemed like the best thing to do against him. So yeah, I ended up with Haley 3 and Nemo. Neither like really reinventing the wheel with either list, just good stuff, and I thought that'd be a decent pair, so I went with that.
Yeah, I guess it's casters you're very familiar with as well. You just need to tweak.
Yeah, I played both those before, and
cool.
the casters didn't change too much. So
that's cool. Well, let's go on to Justin. So Justin's obviously a bit bigger change, right? So you've gone from Harby of Menoth and pretending there's another list to mercenaries. Is this why I take just Aurora, right? So you don't have to name. You can only deal with one caster name at a time, right? So it's Harbinger while you play Menoth, and now you could just do Aurora. Easy.
Yeah, so part of the reason for both Aurora 1 and Aurora 2 in that pairing was I had very little time in the lead up for this tournament to actually grind a lot of games with two separate casters.
Yeah.
And so playing in Strange Bedfellows, I feel like in a team tournament you can avoid some of your reds a lot easier. So having similar lists with kind of similar casters, and I tried to make the Aurora 2 list, do something a little bit more different than the typical Strange Bedfellows kind of like, I don't have any negation angels in that list. It was just try to
very different to how it used to be.
Yeah, and so but I settled on Strange Bedfellows because I wasn't really happy with how Menoth was faring in the meta right now, and I wanted to explore some other factions, especially if I was going to be applying for WTC.
That makes sense. Oh, and congratulations! Obviously, you've got your spot, haven't you?
Yes.
Your team
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
What's the names yet? Do we have names for the American teams or?
I don't think so. We're still deciding on the exact.
Process.
Yeah.
But is everyone else applied? Golly, you ended up applying, right? Eventually.
Yeah. I went back and forth on it a bit, but I thought I'm sure if it gets to September and I haven't applied, I'm going to feel like I'm missing out. So
yeah, you'll get that like shit, everyone's going.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I've applied.
Everyone else, like Tomasz, you in touch with the Polish lot, and
yeah, I've applied today actually. Today I made.
You dream crushed us at the last one.
Sorry, guys.
we got through to the second day undefeated. I think it's probably, I assume it's like the first time Wales has done it because they weren't very competitive for like a few years before, and then we got did we get 5-0'd by you guys? I can't remember. I know I played you, and no one else wanted to, and it wasn't pretty. but it was fun though. So that's good.
Yeah.
Daniel and Per, you guys looking like you're traveling to Belgium or hope to do so, or?
I will be. I don't think Dan is.
Nope, I am not. Again, family
stuff
comes in my way. It's not as much about the tournament weekend itself, but if I would sign up and apply for a team, I feel like I would like to spend quite a lot of time traveling and getting some tournament prep in, and that's harder than the actual weekend itself, to be honest. So I could possibly pop up and maybe play the solos. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. The Belgian team. In fact, over the first round, I was like streaming two of the games, and they were in the chat saying they're hoping to make an announcement about the Solo Masters shortly. So if you are looking for it, as in people who are watching and stuff, keep an eye on the WTC page because there's a Solo Masters section that is due an update. That'd be cool. It'd be really cool if everyone gets to go that wants to. So obviously Justin thinks that Menoth unplayable trash, but Per apparently 4-0.
So this is going to sound like a kind of a silly thing to say after doing quite well, but I also don't think Protectorate's very good.
In a particularly good spot, yeah.
Yeah, I like so the problem with it, I don't think it's necessarily because you're disadvantaged in every matchup because you don't have powerful models. It's more that the faction struggles to cover the sort of broad range of the meta with a pairing. Yeah,
like the range of stuff that I think you need to consider a bit more now seems broader than ever. Like every faction's got bringing a lot more competitive lists than before. Like if you looked before, it seemed to be like a narrow pool of like a couple of casters maybe you have to worry about over a couple of factions, whereas now it's like every faction has one or two things at least that's you've got to think about. I think not necessarily you've got a tech for, but you've got to have a plan for. You've got to be practiced into.
I think mainly for Protectorate, it's just guns plus control is tough.
Yeah, stuff on them. Yeah.
So
And you're onto Ret then, I guess, as your other faction, right?
I think so for the WTC at least, unless something kind of dramatic happens for Protectorate. Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to be in a really good spot where there's tons of flexibility and options. I've just got back onto Ret after swearing blind I'd never go back to a faction I've bought, painted, and sold, and then I did exactly that. But,
yeah, I think Ret are really good right now. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Then wait till Harby 2 comes out and see how you feel.
Yeah.
Well,
reassess then.
Maybe Harby 2 is Harby 2 and 3, and you get like the Dreaming Harbinger actually in Grimkin. That'd be kind of...
Yeah, I mean, they've done Cartier of Death, right? They might do like Harbinger Behemoth.
Yeah.
Denny Haley. Yeah,
yeah, who knows, right? Bonkers stuff. And then Tomasz, go.
I wish there was some deep thought behind my list, but the day of list submission, I wasn't playing for like 6 months, and I wasn't building list or looking at the meta, so I just... I had to choose between Circle and Infernals, and in Infernals, the only choice I was really considering was Fiora 4 that Per was looking to play. So I decided to jump into Circle, and for my first list, which was Baldur 2, I had one game, I think, after the changes were made to the most models in the game, like the points adjustments and stuff, the recent big update.
Yeah.
I've decided it's a good opportunity to try some models out in Circle because I was playing Infernals before. So I played one game with this Baldur 2 list, and I decided, hey, it's the list I practiced most recent, so I'm going to submit that. And the other list was obviously going to be Kruger 2, because I was playing Kruger 2 a lot in the past. So I quickly build the list, and I think I posted it in the chat asking Justin if this is what people are playing nowadays. And as far as I remember, Justin looked and said, yeah, it looks pretty much the same but better because you have the well. So I submitted that, and yeah.
Controversial opinion, that.
That's always been...
You're gonna get me in trouble. You're gonna get me in trouble.
What's the difference if you don't take the well? What's the standard you're seeing instead? So
I don't know, because I was...
A couple more Goblin River Raiders, right? Because they're the most ridiculous thing in that list.
Tell me about it, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, is that still a sore point? It was
Dan is going to talk about River Raiders in depth in one of his games.
Yeah, I think, while I can't have River Raiders in the faction I'm playing, I think they're ridiculous bullshit and they should go. But or maybe just like make them like Hermit and everyone can have them, and then the world will be happy, or miserable, or both. But yeah, so lots of like familiar lists then for most of you, just picking like sort of things you were
I
playing
think most
our team strategy was basically just
lean on your background.
We didn't really have that kind of synchronized team strategy. It's mostly just bring whatever you're comfortable playing, and we'll work it out from there in the pairing process.
Have you seen the movie where they took like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and other like old action movie stars and get them to play in one more movie? That's the thing. Like, took us out of retirement, and we had to quickly come up with something.
Rolled you out, taking the blankets off your legs, and told you it's time to go and win some events. Yeah,
pretty much.
Fair. That's fair. Okay, so do you think there's stuff that you should, in hindsight or afterwards, either in hindsight looking back at the event or looking forward to other events, is there things you think in the meta that are so strong that you've got to prep for them?
Yeah, I can go first.
Yeah, go
on. So I think during the event, a friend wrote me that he likes my lists, and I think we dodged for like 1 minute my list to make it actually a lot better. It took one fucking minute. So I hated my list, and quickly I realized that I have probably no answer to like the most recent troll builds. I just didn't want to play into Madrak 3 and Kolgrima with like a bunch of dudes, even though I have Stormraptor. Obviously, they have the Carapace now, and they have a lot of tech into the Stormraptor. Also, there's Spell Piercer for my Roots of the Earth. So I didn't really like my pairing, and if I was to build it again, I would build the Kruger list slightly differently. Not very. It wouldn't be very different. Just some minor changes, and I would take something to actually be able to play into those infantry lists, and it's probably Farns with some Death Wolves and Entropic Force to deal with 4+ tough. I think that would probably do.
I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about other metas, but like, I don't. If you've seen the same Golly, but over here in the UK, trolls seem to be everywhere. I think, like, I haven't had a single event since they've started back that I haven't played against Madrak 3, and I've played against Madrak 3 twice at the last event I went to. So yeah, it's just like if you've been touched by it inappropriately, you're like, shit. It's just I just see it every event. I can't like avoid them for some reason. So I'm in the same boat of like I'm currently pairing, and I've got like Gary 2 just because I'm like the easiest answer I can bring in Rhett is just shoot him off the board and not worry about like Gunny 2 stuff like that as well. Were you going to say something then, Gold? Sorry.
No, I was going to say we weren't sort of rusty in that we didn't know how to play against things so much. It was kind of worse than that. It was that we didn't even know sort of
it was there.
What was coming. What the rules did almost. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So like I ended up playing at least one, if not two lists where I was midway through the game and I was just like, wait a minute, that does what now? Oh dear, I've dropped the wrong list here, or I've deployed completely wrong or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was probably the biggest weakness we had as a team. Was that we just
not seeing what's being played.
Yeah, just not knowing what was coming really.
Was Justin then your man with his finger on the pulse by the sounds of it? That
yeah, we asked him a lot of questions.
Yeah, you've been doing like all the big American cons, I think, right, Justin? So you've been like properly playing. On Menoth. You'll see all the boogeymen rolling out and how they're evolving.
Yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of like Kador still has a pretty nice place in the meta right now, and they're going along with the troll like kind of scheme of like all this infantry with tough. Like Stalingrad is definitely something that you should probably prepare for.
Yeah.
Though I think we should stop calling it that, given the
current circumstances. Yeah, I did think that. Oh. Avoid that, I guess. But obviously, I watched your game against Sven, and that was like brutally Aurora 1-ish. Like me and Ben Thomas were watching it, and I was like, there's too many landing zones. He needs to like make maybe one or two attacks, and then he's got enough room to spot like multiple models like Hypatia and Gatsby like right on top of caster, which is basically what happened, right? So we'll come to that in a bit. I'm guessing it was a little bit sore for Ben, but But how about you guys? Daniel, did you like think there's stuff you should have seen, or you want to prep for going forward?
I think that Magic 3 list was what we as a team were struggling the most to get some answer to. I felt like, at least with the matchup that we had in the tournament. In general, I'm not sure it would really affect anything. I mean, when it comes to my personal kind of list design, there's just some things you can't really build for in every faction, and I think the Magic list is one of those things that not everyone could afford to have an answer for because it would be so specialized.
Yeah, I think obviously team tournament is much easier.
I was kind of impressed with I used to list like Vlad 2 that I played in the last round versus Derek, how much it actually got affected by the points changes, because all of a sudden I played that matchup before. Usually it's fairly easy for me to shoot enough things away to kind of snowball that game, but now it's just felt like even if I've shot 40 points off the table, he still had a lot of tools left to play with. So
Yeah,
I think that's one of those lists that's really all of a sudden could afford everything they wanted to have in the list.
yeah.
And there's
And then it was
probably a
Manowar,
lot of more of those lists floating out there, like old concepts. But now you can have 2 extra solos or an extra mini unit or whatever, and it just comes together better than it used to.
Yeah, I think after big points changes, you do sometimes just see people that go, what if I just load every model that went down a couple of points into one list and just play it with like a good turd polisher caster, like Vlad 2 is, and just see if I can overwhelm people. That's basically what I did with Haley 3.
Yeah.
Just take all the most undercosted models and just see how it goes. And you do see quite a lot of those after big points changes.
Yeah, you had the Ukrainian talent spam list as well with 10 talents on Striker 2 or something like that.
Oh yeah, the Striker 1 list with a million talents.
My Striker 1, yeah.
Yeah, that was. I was kind of looking at them like, oh, that's weird. I was like, wait, can I even kill that many talents? What did I get up to? Like armor 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of boxes to chew through.
Beefy. What about you, Per? You like quite happy, or what do you think? Like moving forward, or looking back at the event, what was the problem things then or now you need to deal with apart from Magic 3, who seems to be like on everyone's mind?
Yeah. I think I probably need a more comprehensive answer to Rask, although I'm not completely sure what that is just now. But just kind of generally, again, it's sort of the same principle. Like Protector kind of struggles to deal with things that have a lot of threat range and also control.
Yeah.
So they kind of get to hit you first and do a lot of damage, and then you don't necessarily get to hit them back.
Yeah.
Since Protector's very kind of attrition heavy, it can be difficult to really recover from that.
Yeah, I guess if threat ranges and control are your problems, and Rask just brings both, and then does it again the next turn, it's rough to go into.
And hitting power, and he's very good at kind of untying the little sort of knots that you try to create with Protector, like put models in the way while all of his stuff is overtaken. You know, he's playing a bunch of Swamp Horrors which have long reach, so it's hard to block out melee range and stuff.
That's cool. Well, thanks for talking through like your ideas and what you've got on the table. So we start hitting the games. As I said in like our pre-chat, if you we talk through games if they're particularly interesting, take some time over them. If they're sweet and easy, then be through and see how it goes. So round 1, obviously, which is the league one. So you had a week to play it. You're against Germany Feldhamster. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Cool. So, you guys want to? I'll do. If I do it in order of tiebreak, easier. So Justin.
I would suggest to do it in order that we actually played our games.
Yeah.
That was the first week.
You can do that absolutely. Go on, yeah.
So for the first week, I was the first player in, and we paired my lists into Legion. So there were Lilith 4 and Vale 1, I think he had.
Yeah.
He did drop Lilith 4, and it quickly turned out that he expected me to drop Striker, because I suppose he expected me to be a bit intimidated by all the guns with Lilith 4. But I actually dropped Siege. It's a bit of a mantra or a thing I usually kind of bring up sometimes in list discussions, that you never want to be the second best gun line on the table. And then I clearly felt that like Siege 1 will power through Lilith.
Yeah.
Actually, it turned out to be the case. He was forced to kind of come out with hiding and try to get some work done with his Archangel and his Ravagors. She has the opportunity to make them shoot with broadside, and she can protect them decently well with giving them cover and whatever, concealment or whatever.
Yeah.
But in the end, I was just able to feat and shoot 5 systems in total of his stuff. So the Archangel lost the mind, both Ravagors lost mind and body, and I also killed a smattering of small things too. So come his feat turn, he basically was under a lot of pressure to get things done, while simultaneously healing his beasts back up to be functional.
Yeah, and there's not got a lot of theories, so it's like, did he have a proper choice of?
Yeah,
I could only heal like a certain number of beasts and then just let the other ones flounder.
Exactly, and one of the reasons I think Siege plays well into other gun lines is he has defensive tech like the Foxhole. And I can also bring another shield guard out on Nemo, so as soon as I felt like the attrition was swinging my way, then Siege will just like camp 6 in cover behind 2 heavies with double shield guards.
Yeah,
and
just remove the chance of getting taken off.
Yeah. You're just basically closing that avenue down for him, and that's usually how you kind of grind it out. And that's essentially also why a Firefly Effect made that list work when that was released in like 2018.
Yeah,
it's because you have a stack of them, like 4, 5, 6 focus instead of standing there on 1 or 2. It makes all the difference.
Yeah.
So basically, it was just a grindy shooting game, heavily in my favor because I could grab some stuff with the alpha.
How did it turn out in the end? Did he clock or did you kill Lilith? I'm looking at the score.
No, I literally tabled him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Am I looking at the wrong score? Yeah, I am looking. Yeah, I am looking at the wrong score. Yeah, so 100 VPs and 6 CPs for you. 20 and 3 for Napston as the opponent. That seems pretty rough. So yeah, bring a better gun line is the answer then. Definitely sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. Who was next doing the week 1?
I played on a Thursday, but I think some other people did as well.
Yeah.
I can go now.
And then Tomasz played last, didn't he, on Friday? Like, he was the very last
Yeah,
game
he
of
was.
the
He was hoping we'd either win or lose, so he wouldn't have
so
to
didn't
play.
have to play.
Instead, he ended up with all the pressure. But yeah.
So whichever one of you guys wants to go first, if you're all on Thursday.
I can go. So I got paired up with Charles, who played Kalissa and Falsir.
Yeah.
Normally Kalissa real bad for Protectorate, but he played a list which was a little bit more all round than the sort of like really degenerate shooting lists.
Yeah.
And since he had like 30 points in Risovas Defenders, he didn't feel comfortable dropping it into, a Firestarter Redeemer and Fiora Force Feet and stuff. So he ended up with Falsir. I dropped Fiora 4 because Sevi just explodes to Kalissa. We sort of we just positioned a little bit for a couple of rounds. I was kind of shaving off his support staff, doing some damage to the Trident. So he sort of felt compelled to go in. So he goes in with Falsir, has to vanish to get into threat range, starts beating up on some of my heavies, beats up some of my heavies, sprints back, and then Fiora kills him.
Okay.
Basically the game.
Just left himself open, and you're just like, right, it's time.
Yeah. I got a Crusader, Elias Gade, and Fiora some Scortons and stuff on him, and he died.
I think that seems enough. Like, I think Falsir always seems like pretty easy to defend. If you've brought like you bring the kit for it, but I guess if she goes too low, then that's like you go. It's all on, right? You don't want another turn of her being able to charge into you. She does so much personally.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the Fiora 4 Fiora 4 list has a lot of assassination pressure that can be kind of difficult to defend against with the spells and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, there's nothing really in where you got like Discordia to help against guns, but nothing to help against spells like in the Forges list, I think, at all.
Not much.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Pat. And so Golly, you were on Thursday as well, you said?
Yeah, I was on Thursday as well. I'm trying to think. I played. What was it now? It was Crucible Guard. That was it. And I've been planning on just dropping Haley 3 in every game.
Yeah.
He's the cast around their best. I hadn't really played this exact build of Nemo, but I looked at his cost of 2 lists and I thought Nemo was the better drop because I'm not really happy playing against the trains with Haley.
Yeah.
I think his other list had double train in it, so I thought I'll just drop Nemo. I went
double trains in his Lucas list, or in his.
Yeah, it was double trains in one list and then a Vulcan in the other. Neither of which are amazing for Haley 3, so I went with Nemo. He's really good at punching through the armor at range.
Which one did he drop?
He went with Gearhart in the end.
Vindicator. Alice.
Yeah, so I went second, which I was quite happy with. I thought it would let me have another turn of shooting almost, because I can just contest on bottom of 2.
Yeah.
He won't start scoring properly until top of 3. So he ran up. I just sort of positioned a little bit, popped the odd shot off, but didn't really achieve much. And then turn 2, he kind of pushed up, like almost hesitantly, which was pretty smart on his part. It didn't give me a great feat, And so my inexperience with Nemo was showing a bit. He gave me maybe 20 points of stuff I could kill.
Yeah.
I spent about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes to start my turn, so and ahhing, measuring things out. I wasn't sure whether to go for the kind of the suboptimal feat or hold it. And in the end, what tipped it over the edge was how tough the Vulcan was to kill. I thought, I'm going to kill it in one turn, I'm going to need my feet, so I decided to play quite cautiously. Turn 2. I think I scalpeled out a couple of Trancers, a Rocket Man, 3 Assault Troopers, and a Thamite Archon, and just move up position to contest.
Yeah.
But I made a pretty big mistake on this turn. He had 3 min units of medium bases, and I should have asked. It's completely my own fault.
Yeah, it's very similar or the same as what Brandon Owens won LBO with, isn't it? Three
it was 3 min Assault Troopers and a min failed experiments.
Yeah.
And I thought he wasn't scoring the middle zone. I thought, 2 models were from one unit and one was from another because they kind of weren't too close together.
Right,
Yeah, and I scored 1 point and I let him score a point and contested one side quite hard. And I thought he'll be able to, at best, if he goes all out for it and maybe feats, score to 5-1. And I can come back really hard, pick up the Vulcan, basically all the medium infantry within 4, score another 2 on my turn, and then he'll be 2 points up, but obviously if I had nutrition, it won't matter.
Yeah.
But just complete brain fart on my part. He scored 2, where I thought he was going to score 1. So he only needed to score 4 in the next turn, and he did that quite easily. So just total mistake on my part. The game was it was pretty early days, so it's hard to say, but I felt like I was in quite a good position. But as I say, just made a bit of a goof.
Yeah.
And,
no, I think everyone that's played on Warroom has done it at some point. I've done it with my own units, and I often change them to completely different colours. Sometimes if I've got multiple units of the same thing, to make it super clear.
No.
It's easy to
that 1 point. Yeah, that 1 point CP, it really is a big swing when you can. Because letting them score 4 in a turn, it sucks. But if it's in service of sort of a wider game plan, and you can bring it back later.
You can definitely then power home.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gamble you can go for, especially with a gun line. But just 1 point too many, and it ended quite quickly. But my parent was a really nice guy about it. He was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "No, I should have asked. It's completely my own fault."
Yeah.
So that was me taking one for the team.
So Daniel and Per win theirs, you lose yours, and then Justin's got his game, I assume, today as well?
Yeah, Justin's was on the Thursday as well, I think.
Yep. What was yours, Justin? You went to Signar, right?
So I played... yes, I was into Signar. I played against, I think his name was Zeus on the other team.
Yeah.
It was... it was Striker 1 and Siege 2, and I think none of us expected him to drop Siege 2 into Strange Bedfellows. And spoiler alert, I only played Aurora 1 through the entire tournament. So I think it was fully expected that it was going to be Aurora 1 on Striker 1 matchup. And that matchup is an even matchup, most things considered. I thought my list had some of the better tech pieces to kind of deal with that list, with blast immunity on
Swabbers.
The Swabbers. It's really easy for me to
crazy utility heavy.
Yeah.
Blast immunity, and knockdown immunity, and a drag gun.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out how to leverage that kind of tech piece against that list, since it had a Galleon in it. But the Thamite Archons actually presented a really awkward question where it was, if I front load my angels in front of these Swabbers, make them blast immune, and make them take up board space. He comes up with his mechanic units, disposable mechanic units, and just shoots those mechanics in the back and creates eruptions of ashes to kill my
angels.
So I couldn't really rely on the Angels' defense against shooting all that well, and so I kind of had to play them back a little bit. The game started off, I lost 2 Angels to the Eruption of Ash kind of play, and it felt pretty good about that because the way I went second, and he had to kind of feat on the top of 2 to stay in scenario and then not get his Galleon taken off. And he had positioned a Morrowind Archon to contest my zone under feat. I was able to Thunderbolt the Morrowind Archon out and create kind of a charged lane for a Death Archon to go into a Thamurite and that Morrowind that got bumped out of both my zone and his feat. And so I thought that was a really, really good early trade for me, except I brain farted and goofed at the end of that turn, not scoring my friendly zone. So the scenario was 0-0 going into his top of 3. And with that kind of like alleviation of pressure from scenario, he was able to roll pretty well on his Vulcan. And because my models were a little bit out of position, he knocked out the cortex of my Toro, which kind of dissuaded me from ever killing the Galleon at that point.
Yeah.
There was a patch of quicksand that he used to kind of like shield his Galleon against any kind of sort of heavies that would come into him.
Yeah.
And it was really only flyers at that point, and he, just really targeted them down with the rest of his army, and basically left it to a scenario grind. I think the CPs and the victory points at the end there account for it. I ended up clocking, but it was a very close game. But I mean, the Galleon was left at the end, and there wasn't really much I could do to kind of dig back, even though I was winning on attrition.
So it literally was all on Tomasz then. The thing he wanted to avoid by waiting till Friday.
Yeah, it was, and as Matt described, I didn't feel very confident going into VTC.
Yeah.
And I really wanted them to either, I was confident that my team is going to win, but it's either they are going to probably win or lose. My game wouldn't matter. But unfortunately it did. So I won't lie, I started panicking. Like, I didn't spend much time thinking about the matchup, about the game that I'm going to play.
Yeah.
And I think rating the matchups, we have a Bebop machine. That's something that Daniel come up with. It's an application that helps us makes our matchups, and we put the ratings there.
Yeah,
it's doing all the maths for us and in the matchup process. And I think rating the matchup wasn't very easy for me because I haven't played for a long time.
Yeah.
So I just put the ratings as I remembered them. And all my ratings versus Grimkins, for example, was very good because Kruger 2 was very good into Grimkins.
Yeah.
That was the case always. But as soon as I started analyzing my opponent's list, I realized that all the changes I've made to Kruger list makes him worse in this matchup. And everything that changed in the game also made it worse. So the 5 Darkens, for example, not very good. Leaving Warbeasts against Grimkins, not very good. So there were a lot of things that I didn't like. But looking at my Baldur list, I was like, I don't think that my opponent can really deal with Baldur with either of his lists. The problem was that I thought that Old Witch list would be better, but Old Witch list didn't have access to Wraithbane. There was no Cage Rager. And on the other hand, there was Wanderer list with a bunch of Dreadrots, which had the Cage Rager for Wraithbane. Yeah. But on the other hand, there's a bunch of Dreadrots, and I have a Storm Raptor, right?
Yeah.
So it was really
we talked about it during the week, didn't we? And
I was
like,
coming
to
that.
Either list looks particularly healthy into the Baldur list, and you were lamenting that your team was saying the Baldur list should be off list.
I was going to mention that I had the discussion. As I said, I'm the decider. I don't have practice, and I don't feel confident into my decisions. So I wanted to ask my team what they think about it, and I think they were pretty much saying, don't play Baldur, this list is shit, play Kruger. And I'm very grateful for them being confident in my Kruger 2 skills, but also no one really believed in Baldur. And I kind of didn't want myself to, I couldn't be convinced. I was like, yeah, sure, guys, I could play Kruger, but I really think Baldur is better here. And, everyone is like, no, man, this is shit, play Kruger. So I reached out to you. I got some dodges, some practice. And also I spent some time analyzing the table, and I come up with the strategy for the matchup. Yeah. No matter what list I'm going to see, I'm going to play the same way, I think.
And you know where you want your huge bases, basically. That was the
That's correct. I knew what I'm going to do if I win the roll, if I lose the roll, and which side I want to be on, and so on. So going into the game, I was my opponent was Dermani, very nice gentleman. It was a shout out to him because having to play my first game that under pressure, it's really good to have a really nice opponent and a really nice easy start. So he decided to drop Wanderer, which is understandable. Like I said, there's not really a good choice between those two lists. It's whatever he felt comfortable with. And my strategy, we are playing King of the Hill, and there's, I think, Forest in the middle, Quicksand on the left, and non-relevant terrain on the right. Like those two pieces were relevant because I knew that the Storm Raptor is basically doing all the work in this matchup, and I need the Storm Raptor safe.
Yeah.
And I can't afford my opponent to put damage early into the Storm Raptor because it's going to be hard later on to push him into the middle of the table and do work. Especially that I have no ways to heal the Storm Raptor except Una just spending Fury. Yeah, which there's really don't want to do.
There's not a lot in his list that can like reach out, right? So he's got basically like a couple of Clockatrice sprays and the Defiled Archons are the only thing that can do damage before he actually gets in, and you just out-threat him by so much to be able to just walk and shoot down his stuff, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So my plan is basically to
obviously is pretty effective against Reach 1 dudes. We just like knock them off.
Yeah. The problem is that because the Defiled Archons are so good at just chipping out damage and teleporting out the threat over like multiple turns, he can do this damage and maybe start threatening Storm Raptor mid game. That was my only worry. So I decided to deploy my list so the Storm Raptor is on the left far flank and Waldraff is in the middle. I'm sacrificing the right side of the table completely. I deployed just 3 Gober River Riders to contest the zone because I wanted to take out half of his army. He was going first and deploying symmetrically. So I took out half of his army for the early turns to do the work. Basically, the stuff that was on the right had only Waldraff in range, and he can't target Waldraff with spells, so there's not much he's going to do. So Storm Raptor went on the left and dominated the side of the table. Like there were some spicy tap rolls and stuff. Everyone can watch the game because you stream.
Yeah, it's on the YouTube channel already. Yeah, if you want to watch it back.
Yeah, so I'm going to skip the details. Basically, I was able to take over the left side with the Storm Raptor pulsing Dreadrots away, and the Waldraff was kind of bullying the middle. So if you wanted, we started playing from frontal game to horizontal, left to right. So if you want to get into the Storm Raptor, you have to get through the Waldraff, and Waldraff is basically armor 25 against him, and he has like power 11 weapon masters and a Cage Rager. So there's nothing really to threaten the Waldraff. So Storm Raptor was slowly cleaning everything that was behind the Waldraff, and Waldraff at the other hand was pushing into my opponent's zone, so the right zone. And eventually, I think around 6th turn, I was able to just win on scenario because of that. Yeah,
that sounds about right. Yeah, but yeah, if people are watching, yeah, it's on YouTube, so you want to watch the entire game back. Yeah, Tomasz was really, both of you were like really dense playing against each other. It was nice to watch, and thanks for being on the stream as well. I think it was the last one of the round. That was cool. So obviously, so you take the round, like comfortably, I'd say the last game, but obviously it's all on that last game, and then we go into the main event, right? So this is round 2 and 3 on the Saturday, and then the finals is on the Sunday. So round 2, you come up against. I think this is the first game I think I streamed as the. Did I stream you guys? No, I didn't. I didn't stream you guys. So this is round 2 is against Sexy Flanders. And yeah, I set up if you want to watch games back, I set up like a 5 table thing. So my early game is when my kids are in the house. And, was interesting and yeah, colourful. And then the game in the evening and on the Sunday is a lot more organised and legible. It's just me and Ben Thomas. But yeah, so you go up against the Belgians. So like they got some quality gamers there. What were you guys thinking about as you went into this round?
Well, personally, I thought all of the teams going into the round 2 undefeated were really strong, and the Belgians are absolute gentlemen, all of them. So I was very happy to be drawn to them. But obviously, they're also very good players, as you said.
Yeah. So obviously all at the same time these games for the rest of the event. So who would like to dive in, see how their game went first?
So I think that the most interesting stuff before the game was that again we used the Bebop machine to help us with the measure process, and it predicts what our opponent is going to do if we drop first or if we drop second, so we can visualize the matchup process. And the things against Belgium was that none of the choices that we predicted, so the Bebop come up with, actually were the case. so they surprised us on every single street of the pairing process.
Yeah. So so if we start with Woot. So Woot went up against you, Golly, right?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, bit of a double-edged sword, that one, because I like playing Woot. I've played him quite a few times. Yeah, Woot's an absolute gent. I've played him a few times, but they're always really, really tough games. So was a bit worried going into it, but I played Colgrim. Colgrimmer was one of the cast. I know she's changed a little bit, but she's a cast I played a lot back in the day, and especially the Haley 3 Colgrimmer matchup. So I was fairly confident he'd drop that, and he was fairly confident I'd drop Haley 3, and there were no crazy surprises, so that's what we ended up playing.
Yeah, so his list was Colgrimmer with a Bomber, a Pyre, a Storm, a Green Mirror, 1 Death Archon, Falcol Hero, 2 Stone Scribe Chroniclers, Creel Stone with an Elder, Champions with Scaldi, and a Sorcerer, so extra boxes, I guess. And then 2 units of Femblades with the Officer and Drummer. Good.
Yeah, the Femblades, they've changed a bit since I played. So last played, they have the mini feat for +2 now, I think. The no quarter mini feat. Maybe they always had that.
And Pathfinder as well on the mini feats as well, I think.
Yeah.
Which
the main thing about them is that they threaten basically further than I can shoot.
Yeah.
And they have the Chronicler gives them feigned death, so if they're tough, I can't then shoot them. And then they have Reveille to stand back up and charge.
Yeah.
So it can be a bit risky to go all in on killing them. Like if I move a unit up, like a unit of long gunners up, and shoot into 6 of them, and if a few more than average tough, like if 3 or 4 of them tough, those just pop back up and charge into me, and then
vengeance forward and then come for you.
Yeah, well, I mean they can't vengeance if they're knocked down, but they threat that far. But I'm probably going to be in range anyway. Yeah. So I wanted to play it quite slowly because obviously you can only mini feat once. So I'll every turn shave off a couple of guys, bait him with 2 or 3 charges. If he doesn't take that, then I'll move up again, shave off a couple more. Like keep trying to bait out the mini feat, but don't give him like an overwhelming mini feat.
Yeah.
And I've played a lot of Haley 3, either Haley 3 mirrors or Haley 3 into other Cloud Warcasters because they were quite popular for a while. And I found with Haley 3, if you cloud up the middle and your opponent clouds up the middle, that's all well and good. It's a bit of a stalemate. But the flanking units you have with Haley 3, so the long gunners, especially with Finn and Hitch, and then the commandos on the flanks generally beat the flanking units or the Cloud War list spring.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy to just score a point, let him score a point and contest mine, and just kind of grind out a stalemate in the middle. And then let my flanking units eventually beat his flanking units and sort of collapse the flanks, swing in, and then start winning on scenario like that. And that's kind of what happened. The long gunners were a bit more slow because I was quite cautious of the mini feats. Every turn, move up, kill a couple, move up, kill a couple more. And that went on for about 3 turns. On the other flank, the commandos, it was split decision, and there was a flag on that side. And since I went first, I got onto the flag first.
Yeah.
So he was kind of at a bit of a disadvantaged position where he had to keep feeding the models in. They didn't have loads of like expendable chaff models to send in. So at one point, he sort of charged in with the Fen Blades, and it kind of, because the unit leader had to come up, they didn't have massive command. I mean, they have a drummer, so they're a bit far, but it sort of dragged quite a lot of models into my threat range. So I kind of went quite hard on that turn, and kind of collapsed that flank. The commandos are pretty good at killing Femblades. When they mini feet them at 9, so hitting them on double ones, also killing them with anatomical, then quick working into the guy behind.
Yeah.
That unit, the unit versus unit matchup is a bit of a mismatch. The commandos generally come out on top on that, and then sort of a turn or two later, the Longrunners kind of won the other side. And we were still sort of grinding away in the middle. Not much going on, but eventually he had to commit the champions, because that flag where the commanders had scored it a few times at that point. So he committed all the champions in a big block, clouded in front of them to make them really hard to kill. I went in with my jacks, killed a couple. The jacks died back, and then I just sort of finished them off with Hermit and shooting a lot of power, 12 combined range attacks and 13 combined range attacks plus Hermit. It sort of whittled them down. And at that point, we were both quite low on clock, but he was a bit lower than me. And he didn't really have an assassination out, because I was quite aware of assassination, so I stayed really far back. The scenario was a few points in my favour, but he definitely didn't have the time to catch up. So I think we sort of shook hands at that point.
Yeah.
Like he knew, the 3 different outs of victory were kind of out of reach at that point. So
yeah, Colgrim's assassination has always been.
Yes, it's really scary against any 3, because he relies on defense so much.
Yeah.
And Colgrim is very accurate with her sprays.
Yeah, as soon as he hits the crit, it's over, right?
Yeah, she has quite a long threat, and if you want to make use of the echoes, that does pull Haley quite far forwards.
Yeah.
Because she can only be maximum 9 inches away from where the echoes are, so the echoes are quite near the front line, so she's never more than like 20 inches away. But I've died to that a few times, so I just kept Haley really safe and just trusted on commandos are quite a good unit without any buffs.
Yeah.
And Longrunners and the infantry. The list can kind of function without Haley anyway, so I just played very safe, ground it out, and it was an interesting game to play, but quite unexciting to describe.
That's cool.
Just a real attrition slog, maybe 6 minutes combined between us on the clock at the end of the game. So I was sweating a bit. That was a tough first game of the day.
Yeah, at least it's only 2 games, right? I guess that's
when you've got to wrap that up and play another game in about an hour. It's you just kind of like, oh god, I need a drink.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, cool. It's always a pleasure playing Woot. He's an absolute gent. So I really enjoyed that game.
I had a pleasure playing him. I think the last Welsh Masters, probably nice guy to play against. So Tomasz is next. This is Gaming Devils. Everyone's on Discord names for the tournament, which was not the easiest to follow, but it worked out all right. So you're into Crix, and he's got Gatsby 3 and Banewitch Agathea, which I think I streamed him playing Banewitch Agathea during the week as well.
Yeah, so seeing Agathea makes you like, I didn't know what to expect. I've never played against this caster, and I know that she got changed, but I've never seen those changes on the table.
Yeah.
What made it easier for me going into this game was that we thought that we are choosing the table for this game, not them.
Yeah.
And I picked 2 tables that I want to play on, and as soon as I had to make the final decision, I quickly said that I want table 5. Table 5 had the forest in the middle, and table 2, which was the other contender, had a building in the middle. So I said that I like both of those tables, but table 2 has a building and he has Ghostwalk, so that's probably not ideal.
Yeah.
And then they told us that they are actually choosing the table for this game, and they chose table 2. So going into this game, I knew that I'm going to get Agathea because of the building. It was fairly obvious.
Yeah.
So I didn't really had a tough choice as well. I'm going to play Kruger no matter which list he's going to choose. And I spent quite a bit of time before the game. Maybe you've noticed, but my game always starts last. It's because
I definitely noticed. I made some comments about it on the stream just in joking.
Yeah.
But it was...
it wasn't really that I wanted to start last. I just had a lot of questions to ask to my opponents because I didn't know what stuff was doing, and sometimes we also had some conversation to have. Yeah. Anyway, I quickly realized that my opponent list is very fair. It's one of the most fair lists you can play against, meaning that his threat ranges are very static, and I'm playing the most unfair list in the game currently, probably. Like, whenever you ask Kruger 2 about his threat ranges, there is never an easy answer. It's like 11 base plus 2 TK plus 2 if I TK you, if I gallows, if I get Hunter's Mark, what's the range of Hunter's Mark? I can shifting stones this guy, then TK him. Then
the Anthea list is very much, this is the threat range unless you're triggering counter charge, and you can either just avoid it or TK stuff around to.
Exactly. Yeah. So it showed in our game. Like, my turns were fairly quick and easy because I just had to put my models out of threat, and his turns were very complicated because he would ask me what's my threat range, and then Agafia was trying to find 17 spots to be safe, and she never found one. Anyway, I think the most interesting, the key points in this game were I want the role to go first, which means that I'm going to run as far as possible because on his side of the table there's no threat further than 13 inches. And so I can actually run max distance and also TK my stuff further forward, and they are still out of threat of his army.
Yeah.
So from the get-go, he has a really, really tough game. I'm just basically further than the middle of the table, and I shoot, and he needs to run to melee, and his threat ranges are shorter than mine. So he advances cautiously. Then in my turn, I think this was the most important thing that happened here. So he moved his Bane Knights in triangles of 3, and he put both of his Warjacks, that is Toro and the Barafrum, behind those 3 Bane Knights. And they were in walking distance of Warpole Stalker, and they were next to the building. So in my turn, I measured Warpole Stalker walking into this Bane Knights, and I knew that it's going to expose me to both counter charges. So I tried to find a spot where Barafrum actually can't find a spot to land with the counter charge. Yeah. And if he wants to counter charge with the Toro, he would need to hit me through the building, and that would give me extra +2 defense. He has gang, so it's not such a big deal, but if I can make the odds of it happening worse, it's great.
Yeah.
And the last thing I made sure when I moved the Stalker there was that I'm in range of Mad Visions to Hermit, which Tim didn't see. So I advanced Stalker. Obviously, if he doesn't counter charge, I just kill the 3 Bane Knights, sprint back, and I'm safe. Yeah. But he took the counter charge. That was power 22, mat 8 or 9, something really stupid, ridiculous. It would take out the aspect most likely, but I Mad Visions the charge, and then I do all my attacks versus the Toro, and I kill the Toro. I sprint back. I take some free strikes, but I sprinted into Shifting Stones, so they healed my aspects back. And then I fit to slow his army, so there was literally 0 retaliation.
Yeah.
And also that meant he couldn't contest the flag on my side. So basically we started the game with him being a few Banes and a Toro down under my feet, so he couldn't retaliate and couldn't contest. And he didn't really have a fit at this point because the fight already started, so he couldn't leverage his feet as he wanted to from behind the building to move through it and kill my models. So the game slowly snowballed into scenario victory.
Yeah.
It wasn't very a good matchup. The team played it well, but it just wasn't
his score's quite good. He's got like 71 VPs over you, so looks like he's managed to like at least stay in the game for a good.
Yeah, he managed to stay in the game, and we grinded it to, I think, round 6 or 5 or 6. It was just the end game was there was no angle to assassinate me, so I could just move my models to score points, and I didn't really care about attrition anymore. at some point. It was just obvious that I'm going to win on 7 on scenario. So
That's cool. Cool. Next on the list is Daniel. If he's is that right, Daniel?
Yep. So I got paired into Hail 2 and Striker 1 Mirror. And in this particular matchup, there's no doubt in anyone's mind that there will be a Striker 1 on Striker 1 game. It's absolutely the best list you can play in the Mirror game.
Is he playing exactly the same list? Because he's got Galleon.
Pretty much. I have a Blockade. He has a Galleon. Yeah. He didn't bring. Let's see. There's something vital different. Yeah, I have Gallant on Jake's.
2 Samurai Archons, Morrowind, Elixir, Throne, Ragman, and then Precursors, Resolutes, and some mechanics.
Exactly. He has Resolutes and Alexia too. I have Jake's and Gallant. And he has a Galleon, and I have the Blockade. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So I think the key point here was actually we're playing split decision, as Matt said before, and I win the roll to go first, and that's absolutely brutal in this matchup actually because I can snipe one of my Thamarkans, I can fly it up in position, so it's to be barely out of his let's call it the drag range, a harpoon of the Galleon. And basically, he has to start his game just walking into aim range on my double Tamarkans with his Precursor Knights.
Yeah.
And he probably feels a bit of pressure with his caster as well. He has a nice forest he can kind of work his way towards in the middle right top side of the table. But in the beginning of the game, he is a bit exposed. So he elects to go with Blur on Striker. He always has to go, as a Striker 1 player, you always have to go empty on turn 1, basically. So we have 3 upkeeps that costs your entire stack, and you want them for every game. So it's just a matter of where you're going to be when you're empty. So he elects to Blur himself, while I put my Blur on my Precursor Knights. So basically, from here on, my Thamarkans are mostly aiming, shooting his stuff. At defense 13, I need a 4 with a reroll if I'm aiming, and a 6 with reroll if I move.
Yeah.
And from his perspective, he is looking for 7s if he's aiming into Blur, or 9s if he moves. So this is obviously a huge difference. And after a few turns, we pitched our Precursor Knights versus each other on the left-hand side, and the heavies and the Colossals versus Red on the right-hand side, and I just dominate the left, shooting Ash Clouds and taking all his Precursor Knights on the left. And I also, since I go first, I managed to claim a lot of the table. I keep scoring my flag while I can contest his, and I can also score the zone and the left-hand side flag. And then at the basically turn 4 or so, I have an opening to just go for his objective and close the game. I basically going. I think it was 7-2 or something like that.
Yeah, 7-2, and then no VPs on his side. So it looks like you really punished him by getting to go first and basically just having a huge attrition advantage by being able to like aim and shoot and just keep on pounding out his stuff.
And actually I didn't kill very much of his stuff either. It was mostly the Resolutes, some spare solos running around, maybe an Archon, but the majority of his stuff still survived. It was just that I was able to claim so much of the table that I can kind of dictate the scenario game and also force him to feed first, which is obviously it's not really what you want to do. Very rarely when you have defensive feats you want to go first, because this just means that he feeds into me defensively and I feed back towards him, and then when his feet is gone, then I'll be the one to strike first. So I had the opportunity to engage his Galleon with my Blockade, hitting at dice +8. So if I didn't find the opportunity to close it on scenario, I probably just could have
taken the Colossal off.
Yeah, fairly easily, and then just grind out from there.
You're in a very, very dangerous position for the rest of the game from there. Cool. So we'll jump across. So Per was into Bennett. So you're into Scorn, right? So I think I streamed him playing the Xerxes 1 list at the start of the week into one of the South Africans.
I seem to remember him like Beth 2 killing him whole pile of cats on top of one.
Yeah. It was Evan who normally does the show with me. Yeah, and just did the ridiculous like spawning vessel gets slipstreamed, spawns a Harrier. The Harrier runs, Beth gets slipstreamed, and then just throws an AoE into the middle of them. I think he killed 3 of them and left the other 2 on 1 box each, which was a rough start to that game for sure.
For sure.
But how did you find it? What did he drop first, or what did you both drop? I guess
He's got Xerxes 1, as we discussed, and he also has Zadesh 2, which is just a big pile of Scorn Heavies, as well as a Death Archon and a Siege Archons. Yeah, and I think we both kind of deduced that we needed the sort of consistent hitting power to beat each other up. So I dropped my big idiot robots. He drops his big idiot elephants. So it's Fiora 4 versus Zadesh.
Yeah.
I get to go first, so I get stuck with the side with quicksand, which I think is that's usually how that decision tree goes, and when you've got quicksand on the table.
Yeah.
So I run up, he runs up. We both kind of just angle a little bit for a turn, because it's sort of a pile of melee heavies versus a pile of melee heavies, and I have threat range on him if I get the Road to War. So he is sort of spending his time making sure that I can't get easy shots off to get Road to Wars. He's got about a bunch of sort of shield guards and stuff, so he can kind of deny it. So top of 3 rolls around. Not tons has happened. We both just sort of positioned on scenario a little bit. And I look down at the table and I see that my opponent is camping 0. So whenever that happens, you sort of go into the mode of you sort of go into sleuthing mode and try to find the angle. And I sort of deduce eventually that I don't have a straightforward angle, but if I just sort of lob Redeemer shots at him and I clip like anything in his backline, I have a pretty solid assassination.
Yeah.
So I activate the Redeemer.
You just need to get anything like the Beast Handlers or whatever to be able to Road to War something that can just finish the job.
Exactly. Yeah. So I activate the Redeemer. I start lobbing shots, and since the Redeemer is the sort of hidden king of this tournament, it immediately deviates onto 2 Beast Handlers.
Okay.
So I kill them both. I get the Road to War that I need, which is one of the Templars sort of inches forward, charges into his line of beasts that he's put in front of his caster, and then just beats back one of them kind of a little bit out, gets one of them a little bit out of the way. So the line of sight situation to his caster opens up. The Templar is now within 3 of his caster, which is what I need to get feet damage on him. And then the Revenger runs up, and I think I kill him in like feet and Scorn.
Yeah. Just you pop your feet, which does like the pulse of fire around all of your jacks, and then just arc and want to finish him off. Is it?
So he takes a power 14 from the feet because of Savvy 0, and then it's a power 14 Scorn, which is boosted, and that's enough to kill him. I had another Scorn back it up, but I didn't need that one.
If you needed, yeah. I think Fiora4's got like some very tasty assassination options on the table. Like, quite cool.
Yeah,
cool.
People often don't play around assassination from Protectorate, but she does have that angle out.
Yeah, I think the first time I played into it was might have been Tomasz playing her in Infernals to see if she was any good, and turns out she's pretty good. Cool. So you've won 4 rounds, and then it's Justin into the last round. Who are you into, Justin?
I was
Niels, right?
into Niels,
Kador.
yep, with Kador. I think in the pairing process, we decided that it was going to be Strange Bedfellows into K2D2 because people didn't want either to play K2D2 or they had better matchups elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I had anticipated that drop, considering that I not that I have any experience into the Lat 2 matchup with Strange Bedfellows. I have a lot of experience in it from the Harvey side of it, but I thought it was pretty favored for Strange Bedfellows into Lat 2 Doom Reavers. So I anticipated this matchup coming into the game, and because it was split decision and it's K2D2. He doesn't really have anything to score, like outside of a flag and an objective. These jacks don't have rectangles. So I felt like if he wanted to play the game slow, I felt pretty confident that I was able to just win out on scenario after a couple of turns.
Yeah, you just got more things to score. He has.
Yeah.
Or elements, rather.
Yeah, and with the fact that it's K2D2 in Khador, I feel like the threat ranges, the walking threat ranges aren't nearly as scary. So I had a lot of protection coming in from clouds and things like that to kind of force an engagement kind of early.
Yeah.
And I feel like K2D2's game plan going into a list like Strange Bedfellows is basically put your heavies up, see if they roll badly, and if they do, you win the game. And if they spike their dice, then then you've lost the game.
Yeah.
And if he rolls average but isn't able to get all his models on your jacks, I think you're still in a pretty good place, and then you don't lose on scenario.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to speed up that game plan for him, because I kind of wanted to get it out of the way. I saw him like angle on turn 1, kind of to do this like aggressive push into me. And I didn't see a real way to tease out any heavies with a drag, because he had them far enough. So I kind of put up a Toro with admonition on it, understanding that he probably had an angle to kill the Toro with his feet, but it would be a commitment of at least 2 jacks, because of the way admonition was going to trigger.
Yeah.
And so he came in with a Devastator to kind of like bulldoze and then pin my Toro, so I didn't get an admonition. And then he sent in a Kodiak to almost kill the Toro, and then a Devastator follow-up to finally kill the Toro. And at that point, he committed 3 of his 6 heavies, technically 6.5 with the Rager.
Yeah.
So he decided to just basically put another heavy on top of my flag and say, like, can you kill, 4 heavies? Go. And so, you do the math there, and it's like 5 angels for an arm 22 heavy at power 18, right? I saw 4. You're doing 7 points on the average. It's not great. Like, I have to put basically my entire army into his army and hope I roll average.
I hope you don't have some bad rolls.
But it turned out that my dice just went completely bonkers, and I can't open all 4 of his jacks with room to spare. I sent in mechanics on his Devastator just to try to do some chip damage. At dice off 13, they were doing like 1 to 2 points apiece. So
I was going to say, what did you put into the Devastator? Because obviously that's the hardest nut to crack. Was that you sending your heavies in the main and obviously killer mechanics?
Yeah, so the Death Archon first went into so I wanted to engage with my Death Archons first, and it was kind of hard because it was the situation where, like, I want Dark Shroud to be applied, but I don't have that many Dark Shroud targets without activating Gatsby first. So I don't want Gatsby to randomly miss on a double ones. I'd rather have, like, since this is so skewed toward dice, I'd rather have everything just be stationary and just not worry about it.
Yeah.
I kind of used 1 Death Archon without Dark Shroud, just a Hermit, go in on the Devastator at first, because I feel like, I'm not going to do that much damage to this thing anyways. Let's just get this out of the way. I will be able to tag 3 jacks with stationary.
Get the job done, yeah.
And so, but the dice on the Death Archon exploded. I think I did like 7 or 8 points of damage with just the Death Archon alone on that Devastator. And so after that, it wasn't too terribly hard. I had some early shots to. He had Hellrot, right? Or is it Death Ward? I think it's Death Ward. His +2 armor spell.
Plus 2 armor. And choose column.
On the Devastator, but I had the spell weapons from my 2 Frostrum Rokuses that shot off, and even those attacks spiked super hard at armor 23 against power 12s, dice off 11s.
Did some damage.
So yeah, I mean, it just the jacks just evaporated. I got really, really hot rolls, and then since it was my feet turn, I just kind of repositioned around, gave them like really awful targets to kind of engage into, and then just killed the other 2 heavies afterwards. The Rager actually did the most damage to my list he exploded and killed like 6 angels.
Yeah.
Oh,
he just loaded in with focus to purposefully explode, or
yeah. He didn't really want it to explode. He sent it in to kill 1 Steel Soul Protector, and he just completely vivisected the Steel Soul Protector. But then the explosion that came off of it killed like 2 Gatsby bots, 6 angels.
So yeah, I guess more than you probably wanted to get done, but yeah, yeah. I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually make use of like the rages apart from the shield guard, unless they were like looking for the explosion. Like, every time I've seen anyone going in, they're always like, "Come on, blow up."
Right. But yeah, so I mean, the game ground out. I was easily able to take care of, after killing the last 2 heavies. I was easily able to win on scenario.
Yeah. Oh, so you like absolutely clean sweep this round against some very very good opponents as well. So well done, awesome. It's a good sort of comeback after a sketchy round 1, right, where you were a little bit worried maybe. So there's only one more game today, but you're up against 4 men and a baby. So you're again looking like some hard games ahead. So what were your thoughts?
Last year's winners.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And obviously,
and we actually played them in the semi-final. If I remember correctly, we played them in the semi-finals last time and lost. Yeah.
I think they've got exactly the same team. I think, right?
Yeah, I think they had the same 5 as last year.
Yeah.
But fair to say, we just can't catch a break.
Yeah, no easy round for you this tournament.
Fortunately, we brought in an infiltrator who sort of knew them all personally. So.
You got Justin there, like
we're doing the matchup test. We're like, well, this could be good and this could be good. What do you think you'll play, Justin?
Yep.
So were you just like hoping that the beat bot machine with Justin would get you the right matchups then, pretty much, and that would get through the games?
Yeah, the underrated 6th member of our team is definitely the beat boot machine. Like it removes so much stress from the matchup process. Even just as a tool for tracking them as you're going, not having to keep things constantly in your head and think, if he drops this, I drop this. He drops this, I drop this.
Just
having having that visual representation of it. Yeah, just being able to just run the little like simulations of it and think, if I drop this, then they drop this. It's hard to sometimes think 3 moves ahead unless you're Pat Dumford, who just does this thing in his head. Yeah. It's nice to sort of see just exactly what you'll be left with at the end and things like that.
Yeah. The matchup, like, if people are watching, the matchup process isn't like easy. I'd say it's probably got to think about it. I know we spent like the last 2 days before the last WTC, we basically spent I think more time doing matchups, working out our matchup strategy than we did actually practicing games.
Yeah. But I think the key thing there is also, if you got the matchups more or less laid out for you, you have some additional time just to look at the tables, trying to optimize.
See where exactly that advantage can be squeezed.
Yeah. And if there is something that you need to talk about, I mean, tactically, what does this cast actually do, or what should I look out for? You have some extra time in the matchup process. That helps a lot further down the line when you actually need to start playing those games. Maybe you had an extra second to say, okay, this map is terrible unless you go first, so we'll put this to someone in a 50-50 position. I just hope they win the starting role, whatever. Yeah.
Cool. Well, so you got the tables. We'll do it in the order it's on tiebreak to make it easier. So Tomasz into words.
Tom Wortzinger.
Oh right, yeah, Tom, yeah. Cool.
It's our 2nd time in a row. Last VTC we played as well.
Yeah.
So we had a rematch.
This card. So he's got Gerhardt and Lucas.
Gerhardt and Lucas, exactly. And I didn't know how to feel about it. Obviously, I think I stopped playing the game soon after the Crucible Guard CID, so I managed to get some games in, especially that I had a friend that wanted to practice his matchup into Circle. He wanted to test the Crucible Guard versus Wormwood. So I think I've played a decent amount of games.
Yeah.
And I was really happy that there is no Silvestro, because as I remembered it, the only way I could win against Silvestro was Wormwood. And as we know, Wormwood or Stranglehold got nerfed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a way now to beat Sylvestro in Circle. There probably is, but I just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it's Lucas and Gerhard, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get Lucas, because the only way to make playing into TK fair is to just bring your own TK.
Yeah.
This is what happens. He chooses Lucas, I choose Kruger. He wins the roll and he goes first, and I decided to take the bottom side of the table with nice, how is it called, Squall?
Yeah.
Yeah, so -3 range and a cloud on the flag, which was
right next to where you deploy your well, right? Pretty much.
Yeah. So this is another game when I spent a lot of time on the pre-game discussion. And when we started playing, it's one of those games where I feel it was probably one of my favorites. It was very tactically deep, and it was one of those standoffish games where in our heads there's a lot of things going on, but when you watch this game, nothing is moving, nothing is happening. It's just boring.
Yeah. So obviously me and Ben Thomas streamed this game, so we were flipping between tables and basically like looking for good action points and seeing what was happening. And yeah, for a good few turns, it seemed like we were just going back, and then we were like, has their game been paused? No, the clock's changed. There's just like not much movement on the table, and then occasionally we'd flop back, and it'd be like a game of Where's Wally, where we had to try and work out what was actually missing on the table that was there before, because everything was stood in the same place. We're like, something's died. What's died? Is there a Vindicator? No, that's there. Yeah.
Playing like that there's. Yeah, it's TK versus TK. Both casters have strong assassination. He has an Arknote, I have Geomancy, so like you need to be very careful. And it was a really nice chessy game, like with a real chessy feeling. So he wins the roll, he has the initiative, he puts the pressure on me, he runs forward, then I need to react, and I kind of move a little bit cagey. Like I want to be as close to scenario as possible, but also I don't want to give him a good alpha.
Yeah.
And Tom in his turn, this was what Tom described as the key point in the game, even though it didn't seem so. So he had some troubles in deployment, and he left his Arknote in the end out of control of Lucas. And he told me afterwards that if he had a focus to run the Arknote, he would start doing some heavy attrition. But because he couldn't do it, it was, in my opinion, a very high-level Warmachine showcase that he knew that he has an initiative and he has to do the alpha, but he doesn't have a good alpha. It would be probably very suboptimal because he can't start with TKs and all these things. So he just moved back out of threads, just being very careful and making sure that he's not going to lose on scenario next turn, which I thought was a very good play. Because as a Kruger player, you don't really like to act, especially when you go second. If you go first, you take out a lot of board space, and then you can act. But usually Kruger wants to react to what the opponent is doing.
Yeah.
So he kind of gave me the initiative, and I had to make some moves, and I didn't really want to. So in my turn, I move a black clad on the left flag on the Squall, which was kind of funny. And I deployed my well very close to the flag, with obviously well has either side. And on this side of the table, because he was deploying first, I saw Tamarite Archon. So I knew that if the Tamarite Archon, it's obviously to snipe something from the flag, but there's a Squall. So if I deploy the well close enough to the flag, if the Tamarite Archon wants to shoot anything that's on the flag, it's going to be in the range of the well. Yeah. And even though the well doesn't have like great chances to kill it, with Veteran Leader and with Puppet Master available in the list, even double Puppet Master, so I can put it somewhere else if I have to, somewhere else. It's very risky. Like, you don't want to lose your Archon.
Yeah, for
to,
a chance of just
unlock
killing a
that,
solo. Yeah.
Right. So that was one of those very.
Yeah, there's like a building. There's a building on his side in the zone, right? But that doesn't help against a well as well. So
because they ignore cover.
Yeah, it's just like a miserable spot for that Archon to be the whole game, really.
I was very proud of it because I catch this Archon being like it was the saddest Archon the most sad Archon I've ever seen, the Tamarite Archon.
Yeah.
Like Tom really wanted to shoot something on the flag, but he didn't really want to move forward, so he kept him back, trying to find a better turn to do so.
Yeah,
and meanwhile, even though the well is not shooting the Archon, it's keeping it out, so it's actually producing some value.
Yeah, denying it. Yeah, I was surprised watching it that he didn't just run the Archon towards the center of the board, so he could just look for better options rather than just sort of play this game where he can't.
Yeah, after the game, we discussed that it was probably the right move to just redeploy. Like if something doesn't work, just move it somewhere else.
They're fast enough that you can get like halfway across the middle of the table somewhere safe. So
and also conditions are not going to change. The solo is still going to be on the flag, and the well is still going to be there.
Isn't going to go anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and he can't really kill the well. Like he can probably focus for a turn to shoot it off the table, but it's not very easy. And there are stone shapers behind, so if you fail to kill, it's going to heal back up. So I don't think it's worth it, and that's a very good thing about the well. It's rarely worth to kill the well, so the well just stays there for the whole game, producing value. And this is what they did. Like I was shooting to the other side of the table every turn, killing some or putting some damage on robots, killing transfers, and so on. So not to make this too long because it was streamed, so also everyone can watch this game.
And it went long, right? You were like really milked your time for this game. It was a long game.
Yeah, it was a very long game. I think we went to 6th or 7th turn, and it was a grind. And till the end, even though it started to looking like I'm going to win, I wasn't 100% sure. I had like 3 minutes. Tom had 1 minute. And he could make, so I would need to score 2 points, which wouldn't be easy. You know, obviously I have Puppet Masters, I have TK, I can TK stuff out of the zone, but also I don't want to, in the late game, I would have to do it with Kruger, and I don't want to expose myself to assassination. I think I even, at one point of the game, I forced all my War Beasts to maximum, and I left Kruger. I was in range of Sackbound, but if he decided to go just with Lucas and start throwing spells at me, I would die. At that point I think you had three Fury on you, and we were on the table watching it, and I was like, it took me a minute to remember that Sackbound's a thing. I was just
he sacks off to like the croc, and you've got obviously 5 shots into the hermit, so you're fine from that. But I was like, but does Lucas just go, if I roll well enough, I can just kill him?
And Tom was on a lot of juice tokens, and I think I was just, at this point I realized that, and I was just hoping that he wouldn't see it. I'm not sure if he saw it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the point when I could lose the game. Obviously, it's still he would need to throw dice. I still had the Sackbound for shot, so it would need to be spelled. I think it's very likely that it would happen, but it's a dice game.
Yeah.
And so anyway, unfortunately, everything that happened during this game didn't matter in the end, because in the end, Tom was very unlikely with his juice rolls. So he didn't deny a single juice. He was taking those drugs like heroin. And he failed every single juice roll, so he took a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So no matter what the game state was at the end, he was there on 5 boxes or something like this in range of Kruger. So Kruger just walked up and shot him to death without much sweat.
Yeah.
So
a
bit of an unfortunate ending to a very deep and cool game, but
because you both scored like 8 CPs, and there's a reasonable tick up of kills on the table as well. Yeah, it was really good to watch
Yeah.
That goes for I think all the matches certainly that we streamed from here. It was really like I think we were watching it and we could have called it, or we probably did call it either way at one point or the other, and then it was changed our minds halfway through the game or another couple of rounds through. So that was cool. So that's the first win for you. So Golly goes into
I played David. Yeah, it was David Bergstrom. Yeah.
He's got what 4 shade
Kalissa and Gorshade. Yeah, I was 99% certain he wasn't going to play Gorshade because at this point I've experimented with Nemo. It's not for me. I'm just playing Halo 3 for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah,
it's what I know best, so we'll just go with that. So I thought maybe he drops Gorshade, but I think Nemo would probably scare him off, if not Haley anyway. But he went with Kalissa. I went with Gorshade. I've not really played since Rhett got buffed, but I've heard people say Kalissa's really good, and the Atene, I don't know how you say it. I think it's Atene?
I don't know.
Atene, yeah.
Yeah, I say
those are good.
And
I've heard people say Electromancers are good, and he had multiples of all those things. I think it's 4
two Atenes and
4,
and then 2 on Alara, so he's got 2 that have got speed of death, so can go up, shoot you, and get back to safety. And 2 Electromancers and Swordsman with the UA, and Swordsman with Blur, like what, Def 18, I think? Without any cover to sit behind.
Yeah, it's okay stats, but the Halo list is really accurate.
Yeah.
So I wasn't bothered about the high def infantry. That's what I was most thinking. It's quite a low model count list. It's got good sniping potential with ignore line sight guns, and you can do the electro leaps off the Electromancers to pick things out.
Yeah.
So I thought it's good at picking out priority targets, solos, and things like that, and stuff behind clouds and covering things. But just I had
a million trenches,
a lot of volume of models, and I have tough, so that's like a third more guys, and then they can feign death, so they can't be shot.
With a couple of clouds as well.
Yeah, we can Electromancer your own things. So I was quite wary about I was more scared about the Electromancers than I was about pretty much anything else on the list.
I think it's rough because Electromancers miss, like say he's using the Swordsman, they're the only like throwaway things, right? And Electromancers miss Swordsman more than they hit them. So
yeah, that is true. But anyway, I've always found the rep matchup fairly favourable for Haley. I know a lot of things have got stats buffed and new models that are good and stuff, but I find like a fairly low model count and not amazing defensive stats on them. I mean, the Halo list generally out attritions Rhett, so I just thought that's what I know from the past. Models have changed, but the archetypes probably haven't changed that much, so I'll just drop that and go with it. And that's the match we ended up playing.
Yeah.
It was Spread the Net, which is a really good scenario for Haley 3. Because I can always hold my 2, they can hold their 2. I'm really good at gumming up the middle with my stuff behind clouds. And I have a lot of throwaway models that I can send onto their 2, their flag and their zone.
Yeah.
Generally more than most of the list do, so usually there'll be a turn where they maybe can't contest mine, so I'll score 2 in my turn, contest theirs, and then they'll score 2 in their turn, but only be able to contest 1 of my 2.
Yeah.
So she slowly sneaks ahead on points and just plays that like the middle clouds up and just is hard to move, and then my flanking units score points and generally out attrition other flanking units.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I set up for. I was that scared of the Electromancers. He put 1 Electromancer unit on each flank. I put my long gunners and my commandos on one flank just to have both those units only be facing 1 unit of Electromancers, basically.
Yeah.
We both made a few mistakes. He didn't realise the commandos had stealth, so he only realised that after we'd sort of started the game. So the commandos only get threatened 11 inches. They were kind of able to bully the Electromancers off quite a lot and then just get the drop on them. But so starting on my first turn, I made a bit of a mistake, which didn't turn out to be that bad, but I spent ages proxying out where my cloud's going to be. So he went first, ran up, took up a lot of board space, and I was asking his threat rangers, measuring out my clouds and stuff. I just thought, well, I'll get on with activating some stuff. So I measured out my clouds, moved up my commandos at my infantry and clouded before I activated Haley, so there was no reposition. So I was a bit like, "Ooh, that's not good." And
because we were watching this on the stream, going, "There's a lot of trenches that have seemed to have moved, made their clouds, and then stayed in their clouds." We were, and I'd missed the part with where it actually happens. We were just a bit confused for a while watching it, going, "I don't know, I'm not sure what's going to happen." Maybe it's just like you can't kill enough of them.
Well, that is what one thing about Haley is the clouds are annoying, but they're not essential.
Yeah.
With Def 13 is a decent base def. The +2 from the flux helps a lot, and then you can dig in or go in cover. So even if you can shoot them, the commandos can be like Death 17 or 19.
Yeah.
So even in the clouds, they're still Death 17 against shooting. So I'd only put 3 or 4 out in front for the cloud wall. So I wasn't really stressing about it too much. I was just a bit like, well, I need to be a bit more careful. So yeah, I just pushed up outside of his threat ranges quite defensively, waiting to set up to score 2 on my second turn, because I was going to go into that attrition game. And then his turn 2, he sent the swordsman in to the the infantry in the middle that weren't behind the clouds, but they didn't roll very well, and I'm quite high defense anyway, and I passed a couple of toughs. I think he only killed about 2 or 3 trenches, which I was pretty happy for. The unit had come in, so he'd committed the unit and only killed a couple of trenches. Kalissa picked off 3 models, like kind of expecting us to just do that every turn.
Yeah, she's.
I'll just she'll kill 3 models every turn. I'll revive 1. That's just kind of like the holding pattern we're going to be in for the rest of the game.
Yep.
It's not that much of an attrition swing every turn that I'm going to worry about it. And he forgot to feat. This was turn 2. He forgot to feat, and he was kind of kicking himself about it. But I was saying, honestly, I don't think it's really worth feating this turn. Like, I don't have any guns that really threaten the jacks anyway.
Yeah.
Like, all my guns are only powered 10s and 11s anyway, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, he came in, killed a few trenches, killed 3 commandos, maybe a long gunner with the ghost snipers and Kalissa, killed the express team with scythe, and just a couple of random models, and then just passed the turn back. So I basically thought you just scalped a few things of mine back, shaved off the front. I'm just going to do the same. So I scored my 2, made sure to score my 2, contest his 2, killed a unit of electromancers, just solos and things.
Yep.
So I was setting up for that, kill a few models, score 2, contest 2, backwards and forwards. Then his next turn, he kind of did the same thing again, killed a few more trenches. I was basically settled in for this long game. But he moved Kalissa up quite aggressively. She was behind a wall. So defense 19. He feated this turn, so she was stealth, can't be charged.
Was that his theme benefit wall? Or was that just on
the wall?
It was it. So
the wall was a theme benefit.
It was like 20 inches up there, I'm guessing.
But he didn't kill the patrol dog, which is the model that removes stealth. It turned out not to matter.
So if you were listening to the stream at any point, Ben Thomas is just like the entire time we're watching your game, he's going, kill the fucking dog, kill the dog. Why hasn't he killed the dog yet? And every time we look back, he was like, the dog's still alive. Has Kalissa moved?
Well,
she feated? She left the dog alive? And it's like, yeah.
I don't think it's worth killing the dog, because it's so annoying to kill. It was base to base with a trench, so it's dug in to death 20 with flux. It's got tough. It had a hermit, 1 if not 2 shield guards. It's got dodge. It's just such a nightmare to kill that model.
Yeah,
and the Haley unit themselves
the dig in, but
like,
the rest of the stuff is just too much to punch through, I think, for a Lee.
Yeah, but he sent a jack in on his turn 3 on his feat turn.
Yeah.
He shot 3 stationary shots into my jack, and I shield guarded 2 of them, and then the third one hit, and I'm just like, well, you wanted it more than I did. I'm stationary. So his Atene charged in and scrapped that jack, and the rest of them sort of positioned up a bit behind to counterpunch.
Yeah.
I was looking at it thinking I could pick up definitely 2, probably 3, maybe 4 jacks, but 3 was what I was going to go for.
Yeah.
But Kalissa had come up behind this wall, and I started eyeballing this assassination, and I went for that instead because I thought it was really odds on. I needed to hit her. I think it was boosted 6 to be able to knock her down, and then Baby Haley walked into combat with her. So Thorn ran up just so we had line sight I needed to. The main Haley dominated a Atene to walk it just so it just clipped the side of Kalissa's base. So a 1-inch slam would clear her base and not leave disturbance for anywhere weird. So I've been screwed by that before. Then Baby Haley, that was like a boosted, don't roll triple 1s. And then Baby Haley needs to hit a boosted 6 to knock down this Atene, which I got. And then Ghost walk the unit to walk her through all the magic weapons nonsense that she was engaged by.
Yeah.
She walks through with Incorporeal and then just punches Kalissa a couple of times. Leaves on a couple of boxes after I don't think she had any focus, but no, she had 1 focus and then Mad Visions. So leave her on a couple of boxes after that, and then Grandma Haley just finishes off with a gun.
Yeah.
So that was Haley. She's really good attrition caster, but you can sometimes just assassinate out of the blue with like dominating force hammer lining up nice slams.
Yeah, I think
she's
so flexible, yeah, and you've been through it all, so you've won in every every way you need to with her to know at the drop of hat and go, yeah, that's my out, right?
Yeah, you have so much focus on the feature, and you can do a dominate, multiple slams. You can ghost walk things to get into weird angles. Thorn can arc while he's engaged, so you have a lot of different options for assassination. And most games it doesn't even come up. She's a strong attrition caster, so you just, I was lined up for this attrition game, score a couple points backwards and forwards, and eventually just running out of models. But the assassination came up, and I thought it's odds on enough that I'm going to go for it.
Yeah,
that was turn 3, so it was a fairly short game.
I think yours was the first. I think it was over out of the team, so that's 2 wins. And then we got her versus I Love Banana Bread. Who's I Love Banana Bread? I'm trying to think of the name.
Yeah, his real name's Tom.
Is it Tom Cluis?
I'm not sure about last name, but yeah, he's Tom.
Yeah.
So he's got Aurora 1 and Fiona 1, so sort of shades of 2020.
Yeah.
He apparently this is where we continue to reap benefit from Justin having sort of being on our team.
Yeah.
Because apparently Justin has put the fear into Tom, playing Bedfellows into Fiora 4.
Yeah.
So I go Sevi1 because I think Sevi1 is sort of my default anti sort of infantry caster, and I know the Fiona matchup kind of inside and out.
Yeah.
He drops Fiona because he doesn't want to see Fiora for Aurora. So I get Sevi1 into Fiona 1, which is literally the matchup that I originally started playing Sevi1 for, and I think he's really, really good here.
Okay.
So we both kind of deploy. I get to go first because Stacy's a genius. I just kind of run everything up. And he's also made, I think, a little bit of an error in that he's deployed both of his Thamrite Archons on one side. Which means that my Idrians can go on the other side and not get bullied by Thamchons all game.
Yeah.
So my Idrians kind of run up. My everything runs up, and then he gets kind of aggressive on his bottom of 1. So he runs both of his Thamrite Archons up behind a cloud. And his precursor.
This is where we joined. I think your game was when you were aiming at lining up a spray through the cloud.
Yes. So he runs both of his Thamchons up behind clouds. He advances his precursor knights 9 inches in shield wall. And if you've sort of played this matchup, you know that those are kind of the models that matter. Nothing else really matters much. So my top of 2 rolls around. I kind of look down at the table. I have a decent run at these Thamrite Archons, which I need to get rid of because after that, my Idrians get to, live a long and happy life. So I run my Men-at Archon forward to sort of get within 5 inches of both Thamrite Archons, and also give my Judicator something to spray at.
Yeah, you basically got a targeting beacon, and then you add +2 to your fire damage rolls against them as well, right? So it's like the perfect conjunction of how to kill.
Yes. So, and then Blessing runs up to sort of get, soften him up a little bit with some spells beforehand. And that's when sort of the wheels come off. So Sevi walks up, he boosts an Ashes to Ashes into one of them. And between the Bond and Eye of Menoth, he's effectively kind of magic ability 11. So I'm looking for a boosted 5. And I get the old 111.
Yeah.
Which, if you miss an attack into a Thamrite Archon, it's usually disaster. And it kind of is. So one of his Thamrite Archons kind of dodges out of the sort of perfect little spray formation that I've sort of constructed with various proxy bases. And I sort of switch my mic off for a few seconds and sort of get all my cursing done. And after that, I kind of dejectedly just throw an Immolate at the Thamrite Archon. Does do kind of surprising amounts of damage. So I figure, okay, well, this is maybe still on. So the Judicator walks up. And I can still sort of get sprays on both of them, but I can't get both of them with the same spray, essentially.
Yeah.
So the Judicator walks up, puts a spray into one Thamrite Archon, boosts hit, boosts damage, and sort of with the help of the Thamrite Archon standing around, it kills it in 1, which, thank God. Which means that I have the 1 focus left to boost the hit on the second one, get it again, fortunately. 10s with Science Importance, fortunately, are like not easy, but not super hard.
Yeah.
And because of the damage that had been put into it by the immolation, I just kill it without having to boost damage. So, okay, it's still a game. Very good. Because he'd been quite aggressive with his Precursor Knights, I could sort of put just kind of all of my Idrian shots into them. And between Prey and Ayamenot, they're power 14. So they sort of walk up and just sort of do root stuff to Precursors. I kill about half of the unit, I think.
Yeah, it definitely looks like you kill a big swathe of the front line.
Yeah. And the way that this matchup plays out is essentially you are looking to kill everything that can threaten the Judicator. So I've killed sort of half of the Precursor Knights. I know that he can get just a couple of them into my Judicator. They can kill it almost on their own because they're Precursor Knights. So at this point, I'm sort of far enough ahead on attrition that I can afford to sacrifice some models. So alongside the Men at Archon that's already ran up, I run a Champion of the Wall up to just sort of get in the way. And a unit of Initiates up just to sort of block his Vengeance moves to make it sort of more annoying for him to deliver these Precursors into my Judicator.
Yeah.
His turn rolls around. He sort of has a bit of an annoying go of it, trying to sort of get these Precursors through the wall of idiots that I've put in front of them. And sort of after some shuffling, after some shots from his Warjacks, he sort of eventually reaches the conclusion that it's not going to happen for him. So he sort of charges in, kills sort of all the stuff that I've put in front of him, short of the Midnight Archon, and feats. He doesn't get a super deep feat, which is probably wise because it means that I can't feat back on him and shrink it with Sevi's feat.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it means that his feat is not as impactful as it could be, right?
Yeah.
So my turn rolls around. I have a unit of Precursors just kind of sitting out of shield wall in front of the Judicator. So the Judicator goes to work. It kills most of the Precursors, I think, short of like one or two. Kills Throne and also levels the Mangler that he's playing.
The Mangler sort of coming into the zone as well, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the remaining threat to the Judicator that realistically exists.
His other heavy, the Mariner, is over in his top left zone, like with the building and like 20 inches between it and the Judy. So it's got like 3 turns to try and even get over there if it wants to get into melee.
And it's also not a super huge threat either.
Even if it does,
into Defender's Ward and everything. So I kill most of the Mangler. I think I leave it on like 8 boxes or something. But it had charged into a corrosion cloud and it was on fire from the Judy sprays. So when his turn rolls around, it is sitting next to a Menat Archon. So I double 6 the fire roll.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the payback for the the triple one.
Yeah.
So it takes 7 out of its 8 boxes, and then we both sort of look down at the table. We realize there's still a corrosion token on this Mangler. So he rolls his d6. He rolls like a 4 or something, and then that Mangler goes away. Very sad. And from there, he doesn't really have a threat on the Judicator, so I just kind of ride the Judicator to victory. I think it goes to like turn 6 or something. I could have won a turn earlier, but I'm not a very smart person. And at that point, I just kind of entered I'm going to win this game. I just need to keep playing autopilot mode.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really looking for ways to win the game. I was just looking for ways to not lose the game over 7. So eventually I win on scenario, basically. I think on turn 7 or something.
It was cool. It was really like just watching Sevi do Sevi work. Apart from that first roll.
Yeah, after the nerfs to Fiona, I think that matchup is genuinely quite brutal for her because it's just difficult for her to deliver anything to the Judicator.
Yeah.
Now that she can't like move all of your stuff out of the way with
fuddles, yeah. Cool. So that's three already. So I can't remember. Like I said, I think Golly's was first with the assassination. Yours was long. Tomash's was really long. I think the next one was longer than we thought. Maybe I don't know. It wasn't. No. So Justin's next versus Sven. So going to
I had the absolute pleasure of playing Sven again. I played him previously in 2018 at WTC when we were both in solos. And I had rated this matchup kind of even going into it. As I felt like he was going to drop Vlad 2, and since having 0 reps into that matchup, but knowing his models pretty well, I felt like I could play a game. I
So
fully didn't expect.
He's got K2D2 and Irusk 2, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was
but
K2D2.
You expected all the Winter Guard stuff, yeah.
I expected all. I actually expected Karchev. He dropped all the Winter Guard into me, and I was pretty confident that going into the matchup that my Death Archons would be able to do a lot of work in that list as long as I was able to protect them going into it. So this was kind of a roller coaster ride for me because I went into the matchup thinking it was a yellow. It got really apparent after turn 1 that I was like, oh no, there are way more guns here. And I don't think I can protect my army like well enough.
Does he just shoot down the swabbers and then the angels just auto die to the next wave of rockets? That sort of
or he just CRAs into these angels and killing them one at a time. And the same thing with once after turn 1, he was very, very careful on turn 1, and so he positioned pretty far back. He was actually concerned that my list would just alpha him completely, and then afterwards, we kind of talked after the match, and we were like, turn 2, it was just like both of us realized that like, oh no, like Aurora's just in a really bad position here. Like I can't protect everything. There's so many shots going on to the 2 Death Archons that even with 3 shield guards. Yeah.
He's got, let me just quickly. Sorry, Justin. If I just quickly go through the
list.
So he's got a Marauder, Spriggan, and an adjunct in Irusk's battle group, and then the wave of guns. So you've got Alexa, but then the wave of guns is Ovnik Joset's help, but it's basically 2 Winter Guard artillery captains, max commandos with a flamethrower, max commandos with a flamethrower, 2 field gun crews, minimum Winter Guard infantry with the UA, a mortar crew, and then minimum rifle corps with 3 rockets, minimum rifle corps with 3 rockets. So there's just like that's a lot of shooting.
So on turn 2, he proceeded to blow both my Death Archons off the table, and I was like, oh no, this has gone from a yellow to a hard red right now. I can't play this match.
You're expecting them to do a lot of the mopping up of all these infantry.
And he was swarming my position on scenario 2, so I was like, oh no, I've lost this game. And then he killed like all of the chafe and like crippled did quite a bit of damage to the swabbers. I was like, I don't know what to do here. Like I'm sending in angels to kill, maybe even kill like a model or 2. Like I have like 9 attacks into his army on any given turn. But he had made a mistake when he feeded the turn coming into me and killing my Death Archons. He left Irusk just in threat range of Gaspy, within vanish threat range of Gaspy. And since his feet would have caught Gaspy's servitors, he also made the mistake of killing all the servitors. So Gaspy could start outside of the feet and not be hindered by the speed debuff. He only left 1 model in the way as far as like a helicopter drop landing position goes. So I had like 4 gunshots onto that model, and then potentially like Aurora comes up and shoots as well. To clear that 1 model. And really it was just Gaspy that was going to get there. But Gaspy with Arcane Might, with Irusk camping 0, was very sad.
More than enough. Yeah, I thought you could have got Hypatia there as well, because obviously she can Vengeance and Apparates to make sure she's in a spot where she's just outside the feet, and then do her whatever it is, like 17-inch charge.
Yeah.
And obviously,
the problem was
small base, so it's like a lot less hassle to find a landing spot for her than it is for Gatsby again.
Yeah, with Aerogenesis, she threats 14 before Apparate and Vengeance, but if her activation starts inside that feat, which is 14, she can't get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, you just killed the one. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, we were watching and going, it's going to be, basically maybe he has to kill one, maybe two things, and then Gatsby loads. Basically just uses Aurora's focus to boost, and then his own to buy if he even needs to get that far. I don't think he got past. Did you just one shot him?
I got him. The first attack left him on 7. The second attack killed him. I had thought that Urisk had tough too, and I was trying to like plan out like, no, like
it's a tough bubble around him rather than having it himself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Makes sense. But it was cool to watch. It made me. I was like, I just agreed to sell my my convergence to one of my teammates, and I was like, do miss playing Aurora. But it was cool to watch. Yeah. So
it felt really good coming from Menoth, where like you're not really angling for those kind of like assassinations ever, especially with Harbinger.
Yeah.
Just to be able to play a list where like you're like, oh no, like I heavily underestimated everything that's going on in this matchup and what this matchup actually even looks like. And just having that 16-inch out it felt definitely good.
Yeah. Did you talk to Sven a bit at the end? Was he like kicking himself that he'd not bunkered up better around?
Yeah, I mean he was a real gentleman. He definitely
Sven's a really nice guy. Yeah, I should say.
Yeah, I think he could have held or positioned Urisk back a little bit further.
Yeah.
He could have just not killed the last servitor. So he was definitely a little upset at himself for it. But because we had won the round 4-1, I don't think it was a little.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, took a bit of the bite off it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Right. Well, so you had one more game on the table. So this is Daniel into Baby Michael and the horror that is the Gobber River Raiders, right?
Yeah, speaking about the complete bite of the loss. So just to take a step back and maybe say a few words about our pairing process.
Yeah.
We basically have a 5-step scale going from like, oh god, no, an absolute rare, as Justin talked about, up to a green, which is like, oh god, we will never get this matchup, but if we do, it's more or less. It's more or less. I mean, you should win this one if you get it, but you will never get it.
Yeah,
and
I actually let you have it.
Yeah. And I think I had Kruger 2 marked as a full green. Like when I left off and took a pause in playing in autumn, my striker 1 list was absolutely terrifying for Kruger. Yeah. Because I just knew that I can just feed on my blocker there and push it to his face, and there's simply not enough hitting power on that list to get through the blockade.
The blockade under feet and arcane shield.
Exactly. So, and then just in passing, when we kind of leave our chat channel, Tomasz mentions, but you kind of might want to kill those Gobber River Raiders. And I was like, yeah. And then basically as we are setting up, I start looking at the card, like what has changed since the update. It's like, they got this rust thing that gives 2 extra boxes of damage for every attack onto my blockade. It's like, oh, okay, that's something.
Yeah.
And nowadays, Kruger players also bring a Ferrer and a Stalker or something like that. So they have Primal, they have higher, they can warp for strength. And all in all, you have 2 wolves threatening the world with Striker 1 kind of perspective, and going up to something like PS25.
Yeah, they go like
all
8.
The stuff.
Yeah, they go basically +8 from where they start, right? Between warping and permit and
+7 or 8, yeah. And it's that kind of little goblin man come flying. It gets into my blockade. It does the debuffing thing, and basically he commits to killing it quite early. He rolls quite poorly, and he leaves it on 1 box. But then he tramples up a warder, if I remember correctly, and gallows it to death to get the last the last box done. So it was just better lucky than good, I guess. I was almost saved from my. I made a bunch of mistakes in that game, setting it up, going into it. But the most interesting part is probably that with the recent changes, or not so recent anymore, maybe, but with the changes made, that list just all of a sudden hits a bit too hard for how I imagine that game to be played out.
Yeah, it very much flips on its head how like Kruger was with like a bunch of World Wears and Malvin and Mayhem, and you just have to like worry. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly, and all of a sudden there's plenty enough hitting power to kill a Arm 27 Colossal.
Yeah,
without breaking a sweat.
Yeah, which is a bit obscene, considering that it's not just it's not a list that just brings that hitting power. Like if that was you build a list and that's what it does, that's your feat and etc. Like maybe like a Crisser, but it's not. It's a generic Kruger list that gets all of his tricks and control, and also then hits that hard, which is I think the problem point.
I guess from my perspective, Kruger 2 list is basically just a toolbox. Not just a toolbox, but it is a toolbox.
Yeah.
And it's up to the kind of Kruger player to find the right tool for the right moment. And at least how I think about it is they didn't used to have a tool that would kind of get them out of a blocker they are running just blindly towards them. But obviously that has changed.
Yeah. Well, obviously needed a bit of help, didn't he? So. Yeah, it very much does feel like that to me as well. That you used to be able to pile in like a huge base or something that wouldn't be moved, be movable by the feet and by TK. If you can't you can't hope unless you get crazy spiky dice, you can't hope to remove this. That's off the table even the moment.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it. I mean, I'm not saying it's only better than it used to be. They're obviously paying some opportunity costs to cut down the amounts of gallows you have, the amount of TKs you have. I mean, there is always the opportunity cost, and it's just that the kind of my mindset going into that matchup was kind of outdated, and I lost that game quite convincingly. Mike played absolutely fabulous, and I was very happy to see our win results coming in, because normally in a team game, losing that kind of when you always pay for something in the matchup process as well. Obviously, when you say that this is a matchup that we should have, or we should be strong getting this matchup, and then you lose it. Usually, in the semifinals, that means your team just lost. So.
Yeah.
I guess the moral of the story is that it doesn't really matter how you do the pairings and what system or tools you have. It's all about knowing the actual matchups and kind of being deep enough into the map to actually know which matchups you are favored into. And if you, at any chance, kind of lose the touch with the meta and the matchups, then it doesn't really matter how you pair it up because
it's not. If
like you don't have
right info,
exactly. Yeah.
Actually, but you take the round very comfortably. Like a lot of the games, like might not look to you were could have been called either way. Like we said, I think if Justin didn't get or if Sven didn't leave that gap, Justin might have been in a real pickle. And obviously Golly had the grind out potential anyway. But it was really cool to watch it play out as a round. One of the guys watching on chat has asked about what do people think about the no Infernals players compared to all of the usual things like Kruger 2, Aurora. Is that a sign of balance? Like, do you want to take just a minute maybe? But I'm not sure it's a sign of balance. I think maybe even though I play tested Infernals, I never played them beyond CID, but maybe they were hit a little bit too hard.
Or maybe how would it be a sign of balance if we don't see them?
Well, because you had if you think of how long they were so ridiculous for, so it balances out, right? If they didn't have to sit in the gutter for a little while.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's one of those times where it was a mistake to release them in a way they were.
Yeah,
and it's a sign of CID just releasing stuff like that constantly. Because players wouldn't agree, having some personal bias towards the factions.
Yeah.
And also reactions. I don't think the reactions were correct, being that the first nerf probably put them back in line with everything else.
Yeah.
But then you have another update that was to building and line of sight to the huge bases, which is something that doesn't affect most of the factions, and it's something that people maybe even didn't notice. But in Infernals, where you have 2 out of 3 of your masters having Ghost Walk, it's huge. Especially in a team format where you can choose your own table and you can kind of choose your matchups.
Yeah.
It was a huge thing that you just couldn't walk your huge bases close to the building or in 14 inches from the building or something stupid like this.
Yeah. I think you did. We did like a stream of you having a practice game with Golly before the last VTC, and that's like literally what you did. Is you had your tormentors just pile through a building into Old Witch, and that's no longer a thing, right?
That's no longer a thing. So it's a big one small hit towards Infernals. And then you have the balance update, which makes everything that was weaker in the game a bit stronger, and a lot of things cheaper, but not Infernals. So even though Infernals didn't lose anything, everything else gained. So they are kind of weaker again.
Yeah,
and then on top of that, players, they are losing. Yeah,
as I say, players who have been playing Infernals and then have seen like multiple like nerfs to them have then gone, well, but my other army's got all this extra new toys, or these themes that were always trash, or these type of beasts that were always rubbish are now really good to play, and it just kind of I think helps throw people away from the faction when their other options get better and the Infernals get worse.
Yeah.
There's not as much incentive to dig deeper into Infernals and find other good stuff to replace the list. When your other, like you say, your other faction you played got loads of buffs. You're like,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, cool. Right,
I'll explore this.
I think that's enough of the doom and gloom for Infernals. I'm sure there'll be something coming out.
It's a bit sad they've gone to. I mean, I know they were so strong for so long, but it's not great balance when it's half the time they're everywhere and half the time they're nowhere. You kind of balance it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the few, like, obviously PP had a bit of a reputation for a good while of like doing like a double tap with nerfs, and I think with the balance update and the things, I think that's one of the few things they've got wrong. I think generally it's been really well done, but I think it's not hard to agree that it's a bit too far on Infernals maybe, and they needed.
They're good at buffing things. A lot of the buffs they've done have hit really well. A lot of things you've never seen before or haven't seen for ages have come back to the meta, like whole new archetypes and factions that people are playing now. All that seems really good. But then when it comes to nerfing things, they're just so heavy-handed.
Yeah, a little bit.
If you play something that's too strong,
you're
sort of watching over your shoulder because it's not going to be a gentle nerf.
Yeah. I know when we talked to Faye, she said that the idea is for the dev team to be watching the meta over the next 3 to 6 months and tweak the update as necessary. So you never know, it might be that we do have like some sort of dynamic update after 6 months in round about when Orgoth come out, and that's when things that were hit too hard might receive a little bit of love
like
back.
a more like little and often style would be quite nice.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what's needed to really
touch wood. They do go. Okay. So if they do go too far with something again, that this really sucks, but at least I'm not unplayable for 2 years.
Yeah, at least
maybe at least just a couple of months.
That army,
So what we're saying is, there's a gun to the Thamrite Archon set. Play them while you can.
Oh yeah. If you haven't bought them, borrow them. I mean, no, support PP and buy them. Anyway, so let's go on to the finals for you guys. Let's see what we've got. So we've got Nate M versus Tomasz. So you're playing against All Gas No Breaks, the winners from 2 years ago, and a bunch of great players. So Nate M's just got captaincy, right, of America Team 2.
That's correct.
Yeah, so correct. Cool. Congrats if he listens to it back. How did it look, Tomasz?
So again, this is a case where we predicted how the matchup process is going to go, and when we started doing the matchups, it actually went
the opposite,
the other way. Like
I was in the
every
chat
single.
with them. I was in the chat with them, and obviously you guys were doing your matchups, or you were in another chat or via text, and Nate was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to drop Vale 1 into him because Tomasz didn't play it in Mark 2, so we'll have never seen Vale 1 on the table. It'd be fine." I think that was his.
Yeah, it's going. Yeah, I think it's a right assessment. Like, I was expecting to be paired into Trolls, so it was my time to lose, but fortunately I got paired against Legion, and I must say that I underestimated this list. Like, I see 3 or 4 Legion heavies, and I just put green, and I don't even think it's going to be a match for Kruger 2.
Yeah.
And the other list is Callus 1. So I have a Storm Raptor in my pairing, and in the other list I have 2 Death Archons and Lightning Storms and stuff that can keep infantry away. So I don't think that's a threat for me.
Yeah, so Lightning Storm's super rough because obviously you put it down, it kills the thing, and then when the Incubi spawns, it just dies.
One thing to note is, like we described in the other game with Daniel, that list changed and it's better into some things, it's worse into another.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things that I thought that might be my expectations go. If I go Callus 1, Kruger 2, I might expect this matchup to be easy, but it might not be because I have a lot less Geomancy. I can't really afford to put more than 3 Lightning Storms in a turn, right?
Yeah.
So and those Warpwolves are basically worthless in the matchup. I don't need the hitting power. I need the amount of attacks. I need the auto-hitting attacks and stuff like this, board denial. Anyway, I didn't expect to see Callus. I expect to see Vale. Again, one of those games where I start last. I ask Nate a lot of questions. We discuss every details about our lists, and also the interesting part was the table choice. Going into this game, obviously inexperienced in the matchup, I thought that there was a building, and it was covering one of those flags. In a way that if I put a solo on this flag, it's probably safe. And I want that for Kruger. I want to have a safe spot for my caster, for my solos, for Death Archons, for example, to apply Mortal Fear deep. And I just didn't know that this building is helping me as well as my opponent. And Nate told me that he didn't care which side he was put on. This building is still going to help. So before the game, I didn't know what to make of it. After the game, I obviously know. So he wins the roll to go first. He decides to go first. That's obviously a huge pressure on me. The list is very quick. There's like 2 or 3 ways to apply Sleepstream. So I think Tagrosh 1 could do it. Vale,
she's got, so it's Vale with a Succubus, a Naga, a Scythe, and a Seraph in her battle group. So Vale and Seraph can do a Slipstream. Then it's got Blight Archon with an Angelius and a Meccano Shredder. And then Thagrosh with Typhon, but Thagrosh can cast an Animus from any of the beasts around him. And Ysilla, Forsaken, Min Hex Hunters with Baal and Virtue Host. Basically, he's got 3 Slipstreams if he wants it, plus Leash, I guess, for another beast movement.
Yeah, exactly. So this is very far. It takes a lot of board space, and from the get-go, like turn 1, he runs up the board. Everything is safe behind the building, but the building is very deep, like on my side of the table, so everything is in my face. And going, like, my turn 1 was actually one of those turn 1s when you want to unpack your army, but it's difficult to move out of your deployment, not to be in threat range.
Yeah.
And I knew that his list relies on alpha, and what do you do when your opponent out-threats you and wants to alpha you? You just probably can't avoid it. You just try to give him a bad alpha. And this is what I was trying to do. But being inexperienced in the matchup, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of moving my models, some in threat range, some out of threat, hoping that it's enough to disincentivize the alpha, but it wasn't. So in Nate's turn, he slipstreams his heavy from behind the building so he can charge me. And one of the things that I did was I, knowing that if I'm going to get alpha, I don't want to have all of 3 of his heavies to do work. So I basically left everything outside of Scythian's threat range. So only Typhon and Angelius can get there.
Yeah.
And the problem of lists like Nate was playing, that probably we all experienced, is you don't have a lot of models, you don't have a lot of attacks, and you rely on those models to do work. So whenever one thing goes wrong, it snowballs into just a horrible turn. Yeah. So I made a mistake thinking that he's not going to go for the alpha, not putting Mortal Fear up. But early on, I have Hermit available, so even if he charges me, I can, deny the armor piercing from Angelius, for example, and maybe it's going to help. So he starts his turn. He measures out some things. He slipstreams heavies from behind the building. Angelius charges Walled Warden that's next to my to the Death Archon, and the Death Archon is tastier piece for a Legion player. Obviously, it does a lot more than a heavy will ever do. So he charges the Walled Warden. He punches Walled Warden. I take the attack. There's no reason to use Mad Visions, especially that it wasn't the armor piercing attack. Then he takes the second initial into the Death Archon and misses. And it's the thing I said before shows that everything already starts falling apart. But he can buy some more attacks. He buys another one, he misses. He buys another one, and then I think he hits. I take the damage because it's very unlikely that one attack is going to hit me. And if he hits again, I just Mad Visions, and this is what I did. So Angelius cannot sprint, so he's going to just get moved from Vale's feet. But 7-inch movement isn't enough to get it out of threat, so I already get a heavy. And this list has 3 heavies, so it's very not good for Nate. Then Typhon moves up, and he can't get to the Death Archon that he already started damaging, and he put a single attack into Walled Warden, so he's like, maybe I will finish off the Walled Warden. And I think he left the Walled Warden on something like 10 boxes or something. Again, a bit unlucky. The damage rolls weren't super bad, but they weren't great. And because there was so many things to do in his turn, leash, slipstream, so many angles. A few things went wrong. For example, his objective was blocking the leash movement, so he couldn't get as deep as he wanted to. He forgot to apply Puppet Master just because there was so many things you had to do in your turn. It's very easy to forget. So the turn wasn't very good. I didn't lose a single piece. I obviously lost some damage boxes, but it wasn't so bad. Angelius walks back, but not far enough to be out of threat. And Typhon walks back to actually be out of threat. So I couldn't get to Typhon without committing too much, more than I wanted to. So in my turn, I killed the Angelius with a Death Archon that was already damaged. I needed some help just to put some cheap attacks. I don't remember what finished him off, but I managed to kill it. I put Solo on the flag. On the left side, I think I managed to kill Virtue to clear the zone.
Yeah.
And I put some damage into the objective. I fit, so there's not going to be another very strong alpha, and I pass the clock to Nate. And Nate, in his turn, can't really do much, right? It's you're heavy down, and I'm up on scenario, so he has to basically walk up Typhon, hope he kills something, and then also hope I won't kill Typhon in return.
Yeah.
And that was the plan. And again, I don't remember if it was the forgetting the Puppet Master or the dice were just really bad. But even though Typhon had rerolls from Tagrosh 1, he missed some attacks into Death Archon, he missed some attacks into the Warpole Stalker that he was spraying. And the end result was that the Death Archon survived on 2 boxes and the Stalker survived on a few boxes as well, which is the worst. And he couldn't really put more damage into it. Then on the other flank, I think the Blight Archon tried to put some damage to finish off my World Warden, but didn't manage to finish me off. So again, very unfortunate turn from him, and the turn that really put the nail in the coffin. Like there was probably no return except the assassination. But then comes my turn, and I make sure that the only thing I need to watch out is the 5 inches from Veil, that if I trigger, he can move a model. Obviously there are not a lot of heavies, but it's very hard to engage them. If I walk within 5 of Veil, she can trigger. I think it's called Dark Sentinel. Yeah,
Dark Sentinel, and then Typhon's also got crit pitch if he's still alive.
Crit pitch, or walk out of threat. So I decided that I'm not going to go for attrition swing. I'm just going to try to score 5 up on him. And in this turn, I think I shoot with the well into the objective. I leave in on 2 boxes. Then I boost the blast damage into Tagrosh. I kill Tagrosh, but he passes tough check. Then a World Word goes into Blight Archon with 1 transfer and upkeep. So I have Puppet Master and Veteran Leader, so I should probably kill Blight Archon. Yeah, but I don't. I leave it on 2 boxes. So I realized that everything went wrong. Like my dice weren't bad, but I was just 1 short of anything I wanted to do. I move Blacklat to finish off the objective. I do 1 point of damage, so it leaves. It was left at 1 point. So I decided to just play it safe, keep Kruger back, camp 4. There was no reason for me to overextend. If I don't win this turn, I will just win next turn, just because of attrition being so bad. I also tried to kill Typhon with Stalker, but it was very unlikely. But the thing is that I don't need to kill the Typhon because Typhon is 5 Fury. Yeah, and Tagrosh had 4 Fury on him, so it's going to
Tagrosh tough, didn't he? Sorry, yes, he didn't go wild.
Yeah. So I didn't kill the Typhon, but it didn't really matter. So in Nate's turn, it's really there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So Nate decides to go for very unlikely assassination. I'm not even sure if it was possible, but you gotta try. Don't tell me
when it looks over.
Yeah, and there's always if you go for an assassination, maybe I would make some mistake and fall into some trap. So I think the issue was that when he decided to go for an assassination, he didn't see that I have 2 heavies to transfer to. So that's
you had a World Weird in the left zone, out of range for anything he's got that was on 1 Fury or something. So
World Warden.
Warden. Yeah, that was completely
touching the zone. Yeah, and there was a Feral also behind the forest. So I couldn't really die. And after this assassination fails, we decided to call it.
Cool. Well done. Nice start. And then John Henry versus Golly is next on the on tie break. And I can remember every time we swapped to it, it was just like it was a nightmare to try and work out what we two were doing on Wartable. It's just like models everywhere. I've never seen a screen so
easily over 100 models between us, and it was a bit of a cluster,
So you dropped Haley 3, and John Henry dropped Mandrak 3. So this is Mandrak with a Rune Bearer, Earthborn Dire Troll, a Bomber, Death Archon, 2 Falcor Heroes, Stone Scribes and Elder, and then Northcan Raiders, and then 3 lots of Creeler Warriors with 2 Cabers each. So there's Carapace all over the place.
Yeah. Going into it, this is one of those lists that's basically an archetype that I've never seen, but it's completely sprung up between the update and now. So after when I stopped playing, so I looked at it, and on paper, I thought it was okay. I thought it'd be a lot of models to chew through, but it
was manageable.
The stats are all a little bit more than I thought they were. I didn't realize things like Carapace and a few other little things, and compound that with since this game, I've looked back at it, and I think it is playable for Haley. I think it's a pretty 50-50 game, but there's 5 or 6 sort of big-ish mistakes that I made. So he played it really well. Like he really knew what he was doing with that list.
Yeah.
And I just, there was quite a few moments in the game that I can kind of pinpoint where I was like, that was the wrong call. But so I'll start from the beginning then. So he won the role. I picked the table was really open, which I was quite happy about. It gave me a lot of shooting angles, but as it turned out, the shooting didn't matter that much. It was more about the my combat that was going to matter more.
Yeah.
So, but it didn't hinder me either. So I was sort of fine with it either way. And he runs up. He's aware of my threat ranges, my walk and shoot ranges he runs up, but quite cautiously. Gives me a couple of shots turn 1, and then just passes the turn. So I move up fairly cautiously as well. Drop my cloud wall. Fire a couple of shots, but things are in clouds and with defenders war on the front unit, so I don't really kill anything. And then turn 2, he just everything comes screaming forwards, max distance, feet goes up, and there's just trolls everywhere.
Yes.
And and it's the feats up, so 4+ tough, no knockdown, and they get to move every time they tough.
Yeah.
So he's kind of boxed me off from his flag, and he's all over my flag. And so the first mistake I made that's kind of come back to bite me is he had 2 dire trolls. One was an Earthborn and one was a Bomber. And I saw his deployment, and one was it was on the left flank, and it was quite far forwards. It was like on his front line, and the other was on the right flank, kind of behind some more. Two layers of creels, And in my head, I'd seen the Bomber. I was thinking about the Bomber, because I thought that's going to be annoying for the Commandos. Because the Commandos have got anatomical, so they ignore tough, and they just auto-wound regardless of armour. They're going to be really nice on feet. Because if they're mini feet, they go up to Mat 9, Mat 10 with Finn. So they charge in, that's pretty much like 9 almost guaranteed kills. So I was like, brilliant. These guys are going to do work on feet turn. So I put them on the right, because in my head, the Bomber was on the left. So I thought, he's got no guns to threaten them, so they can push up just out of his charge range. And if he runs to jam me, I can easily unjam with those first, and then move through them with Tactician. But it turned out the Bomber was on the right, opposite the Commandos. So when I went second, I realised that was a Bomber. I moved up, and I had to spread them out quite deep. And their threat range isn't that long, so when they came to charge in on turn 2, they were spread quite deep, so I couldn't get as many charges.
To melee,
I managed to charge in maybe the front 4 or 5, and that picks up 4 or 5 guys, but it's almost half what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So that was a mistake. They should have on the other side. But they killed some guys. I got quite lucky with their sprays and stuff. The sprays are still power 14, so even with Carapace and stuff, I'm hitting. I mean, you can't miss that many trolls. So sprays are hitting like 4 guys each. Maybe breaking armor on 1 or 2, needing like 9s, and then he fails 1 tough. So they went in, maybe picked up 6 or 7 creels. So a decent job, but not enough. And then the second mistake I made was it's a bit of a rules mistake. So Max Finn, he's got a Grievous Wounds, Overtake, and Killing Spree, and he's Mat 9 base, Mat 11 with Temporal Flux up. And he's a Weapon Master Power 10, so he goes through the Raiders pretty easily.
Yeah,
so he starts off.
Like knife hop, basically through the middle of the army.
Yeah, he starts off. I'm looking at it, and because they're in sort of waves, he can sort of ping pong between the front wave and the back wave, and he's only a half-inch melee, sometimes he can get stranded.
Yeah.
But I thought if I'm careful about this and I measure out a couple of moves in advance, I should be able to get through quite a few models. And so he goes in with his first attack and just squishes a raider. And then disaster, he hits a random creel and fails to break armor.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, oh dear. But he's got rapid strike, so his second try. So I kill that creel, bounce into a raider, kill that one, bounce into, I think, another raider, kill that one, and then bounce into a caber, hit and break armor. And John says, oh, he's got take up, so I'll just take another model off. And in my mind, the way take up works is you remove a different model and heal one model, heal the damaged model back one. So I say, oh, he has grievous wounds, so if you take up, they'll both die. And he says, oh, that's been changed in the update. And there's a bit of a heart-sinking moment for me. So I said, oh, fair enough. Can we just look at that and the rules? We had to look at the rules, called the judge, and that's the way it turns out it works.
Yeah.
So yeah, Finn's dreams of glory were kind of squashed a little bit there.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a bit of an experience on my part. I could have gone a different angle, picked up some more guys, but that was the most juicy angle was through that caber.
Yeah.
But yeah, in future I'd take the route where I actually kill more guys. Yeah. But I made a bit of headway killing creels, but the issue I was having was he'd sort of bubble wrapped his flag with 2 layers of guys, and on that flank I had the express team with grievous wounds. So I measured it out with a run, make a thrall with Alexia, throw it kind of far forwards, walk it up 6, make it to a thrall warrior, and run it to his flag. It's going to basically contest his buy me a turn.
Yeah.
But I needed this express team to pick off 2 guys to clear a wiggle room for this thrall to just run through. And he failed to break armor on the second one, so I couldn't contest his flag. And then over on my flag, there's trolls everywhere, and I killed. He was contesting with 6 at the start of the turn, and between 4+ toughs, and they're quite high armor naturally. I think I left 1 or 2 alive still. So in my turn 2, bottom of 2, he scored 1 and I didn't score.
Yeah.
I'm quite jammed up in the middle. I basically just pushed the trenches in. The cloud walls don't really matter, and I just thought he's got a lot of medium-based guys. I'll just wedge models in that he needs to kill. He doesn't have tacticians. So I thought it's going to be annoying for him to have to kill guys and maneuver around with the guys after that and stuff. So I just jammed my useless models forwards to just buy me some time. And then his turn, he kills. His Death Archon comes in, picks up 1 of my echoes, I think, and he picks up the front rank of trenches. He's got Wraithbane to spell piercer, so he's hitting them fairly easily. I think I lost a Stormcloud that turn to just some battle-lusted guys. And Bomber takes a decent chunk out of the long gunners, but I kind of wasn't that worried. So at this point, I realised the long gunners don't really have their ideal targets anyway. So
they're going to do the work, yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't that bothered about them. And some of the commandos died, but the ones that couldn't get in, I'd kept quite far back. So I still had about 6 commandos left. And he picks up 1 on his flag, and then I think he gets 1 for the zone as well, because I'd only contested it with about 5 or 6 random trenches. Yeah. And then they died, so he went 3-0 up at the bottom, the top of 3. And then bottom of 3 is my turn. The feat's gone, so even though I've lost quite a lot of models, I start making some more headway. Thorn goes in. I have 1 echo left. Maxwell Finn's dead at this point. He's definitely probably came in number 1. He's gone, but just charging into combat with some stuff. The express team kills another guy, and I have the same problem again where I just can't quite finagle the angle to get 1 guy to contest. I think 1 model maybe toughs, and another model is just slightly out of line sight. So I couldn't quite get the model into contest. So he's going to score again at the end of my turn, and then in his turn, he just needs to score again and kill the objective. So it was quite a quick. When I say quick, it was a lot of moving models, but a fairly early in the game, 5-0. But, he played it really well. Just completely jammed me out.
Played like super well. Like the amount of like attacks and movements and tough checks and angles and stuff you're all doing. You both managed your clock like incredibly well to get like that far with like
for sure. Yeah, it's but I had a laundry list of things that I could have done differently. I think the commandos, I think I deployed them in a line, stretched across my deployment zone behind the trench infantry.
Yeah.
So when he does that run to jam play, every one of the commandos can charge through the infantry with tactician, completely wipe out his front rank and then I can just push the infantry through them again with tactician, cloud up, and pretty much just pass the turn. and just kill 10 guys, maybe a couple more that I can get through the toughs.
Yeah.
And just pass the turn back and say, I'll jam you up a bit more and I'll deal with some more of this. Kill the essential models to stop me, to at least keep me in the game. And then once the defeat's gone, try and actually make some headway.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But it was a good game. It was a real eye opener. I've never seen that.
And
didn't exist.
That's like the entire. So I streamed the 5 games, like jumping between them. But then Iron Grudge, if you check him out on YouTube, as streamed.
Oh yeah. It was streamed as well.
All of John Henry's games. So you have the whole lot. The war. So cool. Thanks, all. That's good. And then next we've got Grant's gone to Per. So Grant's got Makeda 3 and Zal 2, right? Sorry?
I think Justin has to go in just a few minutes, so maybe we can do his game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Justin, it's all right, mate. We've got time to jump through yours. We've gone a bit longer than planned. Sorry. So
not a problem at all. Not a problem.
Your versus Brad,
apologies for having off early here. I didn't expect this.
No, we normally aim for 2 hours, and yeah, we've chatted shit too much. I'm sorry. So yeah, so you're up against Brad's minions lists.
Yeah, so this is a pretty cagey game. It was Recon 2, so I feel like both of us went into the match understanding that we kind of had to dance around quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think just ranges. I didn't play one of my big mistakes was not playing aggressively enough turn 1, and kind of just letting him alpha into me, but giving him a bad alpha. I was way too protective. That didn't force his feed out early enough.
Yeah.
So he then just positions around that engagement and then feeds the following turn after coming in with Pour and killing a couple of angels. At this point, I needed to do work. There were 2 primal archons that I could kill and brine. And I had a pretty easy way to kill one of the primal archons with my deaths, but the second primal was going to be a bit problematic. I was trying to cheat out some threat ranges on his turn with admonition and then countercharging in, forcing him to kind of take a countercharge on Hypatia from a Swift Vengeance move. But there was a landing spot for that primal to charge Hypatia without engaging in admonition. So but basically the plan was for the Toro to come up to kill the primal archon, and then I would have there was only one shield guard next to Brine, and so I would have hopefully been able to drag Brine in, get Brine off the board, and then maybe play a game from there on. The Toro came in and needed 6s to hit against primals, did not hit a single 6, so that plan went really south really quickly.
Yeah, you just got left there, shadowbound. Like,
and so at that point, I think the game was pretty much lost on that feat turn and on that engagement. Had I taken Brine off, I still think I take quite a bad hit on the flip side. But I was probably a little more live on scenario. But Brad really didn't have to do that much more after that turn. Brian cleans up an angel in his zone. On his other side, he clears off his flag, and then he kills my objective and then scores out.
It was a rough turn to watch. I think he positioned really well to get so deep, to get the Steel Sword Protector, the turn 4 position, everything ready. And then obviously your dice are just crapping it for what sealed the deal for sure. But cool. Yeah, thank you. Sorry to have overrun a little bit. So thanks for joining us, Justin, everybody. Much appreciated.
Not a problem.
Got to get through that one. So let's
cheers everyone.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'll catch you later. And we'll jump back then to Per and Grant. So this is the Menoth score match. So Grant drops Zal 2, right? So he's got Zal, Agonizer, Kriya, Shaman Brute, 2 Supremes, Ancestral Guardian, Hakar, 3 novitiates, 2 mortal vessels, Ambidan, and then 2 lots of mortals with advocates.
Yes, he's got basically the kind of archetypal.
Yeah,
Zaltu
very
list.
much what we've seen for quite a long time now. Not really changed at all.
His opposite is Makeda 3 with a bunch of shield lights, which is not really what you want to be against, like a bunch of chain weapon heavies.
Yep.
So I felt pretty confident he's going Zaltu.
Yeah. Sure.
I think we're both a little bit unsure about the matchup. Like, I've played Zaltu, but it's been a long time, and I've never played it with Fiora 4.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of a slow scenario. So we all just we both sort of default to playing very conservatively. So we both just kind of sit there and grind for like turn after turn after turn after turn.
Yeah.
Eventually, he slips up a little bit and he kind of forgets the threat range on the Reckoner, I think. So I kind of see my opportunity to really break this game open, right?
Yeah.
So I shoot his Supreme Guardian a little bit, and then my Reckoner goes in and kills it. At which point, sort of, he is starting to run out of models to kill my heavies with.
And obviously with one Supreme down, he's not bringing back more immortals on that side of the board as well.
So I finally kind of commit to the fight. I send a bunch of heavies kind of running up the other side to pressure his Guardian. And then basically he can't kill the Reckoner. I kill the other Supreme Guardian the turn following. And I just kind of get ahead on scenario to the point where as turn 7 rolls around, I am kind of enough ahead where I can close the game out.
Yeah, I think right at the end, you could have like scored some extra points, but obviously we were watching it and going, I'm assuming that in your mind, you're going, what do I do to make sure I don't fuck up this turn and somehow lose? And you're like, claim scores. I definitely that gets you 5 up, stops the game before you do anything wrong.
I look at the table. I'm in my mind. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I just win her if I ship clock, but I'm gonna run this model to contest just to make sure I haven't
not missed something. Yeah. That's what we were saying on the stream. Yeah, it was really cool to watch though, and yeah, it was absolutely like a proper positioning and grind fest. And then once that Supreme on the left went, and you positioned like you had 3 heavies all in the right zone, sort of lined up, looking at the other one. It's like, well, if you kill. You got basically like a bunch of Road to War triggers, or he just has to run away. At which point it's done, isn't it? So, yeah, that was a pleasure to watch as well. Then, so and well done. So you take that one. So we got Tomasz wins the one versus Nate. John Henry beats Golly, and then you beat Grant. And I think yours was the very last game, right? I think.
Yeah, mine.
Yeah. It was yours last. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, and then Brand wins against Justin. Yeah, so we go into the longest and the last game is in versus Derek. Is that right?
Yep, myself versus Derek.
Yeah. Which was.
And so the kind of the trend of the tournament was that we were looking at the tables, and Justin would find some map with windswept and say, "Please don't put me on this map," because he was playing Aurora all the games. And I was usually like, yeah, they're fine. I can take it for you. So I did this game. I actually expected Derek to drop Aldrich too because of my shooting capabilities. And I have then taken a map of Justin with some windswept and also 2 clouds, which obviously, if you know Vlad 2, you know he can get those clouds off the board if he feels so inclined. Yes. So he actually drops Vlad. I get to go first. I get to take a bit of position on the board, and he basically just advances into my feet saying, let's see how much you can shoot. And I proceed to get off about maybe 40 points worth of models.
You basically just kill
full unit of Democore.
Basically kill all of basically all the man of war, like units that are just in the center of the board, just like evaporate and leave him basically with his solos. And the battle.
Yeah, so exactly. So Democore are gone with UA. The mean Stormtroopers are gone with the UA, and his Marauder is about halfway dead. And I think I killed Kale Baylock and maybe some other stray model. It costs me some. I mean, it cost me my feet, and it cost me especially him being able to feed back into me. He rolls well for the feat. He gets the bonus on all 6 models, so I think one was out, so he basically gets to send feated on tankers.
I think it was Kovnik on the far left was out, and then the rest, all the tankers.
And he picked some stray models in his backline to be feated on instead.
Yeah.
It wasn't super important, just that particular model, but he needed to waste it on someone. And so to reach, he was flanking on both sides with 3 large base models, and to be able to reach those, he had to advance Vlad quite a bit, putting him behind the wall, quite well protected, camping 4, I think.
Yeah.
But then he just basically pursues to feat and engage me, killing a Tamar Khan, scoring 4. So being able to both get my objective and both square zones and his own flag.
He
kills
Kane as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. He uses the wind blast to get rid of the cloud, and he can just barely move 7 with his extra feet movement then on the strike tanker, I think it is, and shoot Kane, rolling 6 shots. I think I could have survived 3, 4, maybe 4, but 6, no way. So he's blows Kane away, gets rid of the Firefly and Firefly effect on siege, and basically just being obnoxious with armor 24 tankers in my zone. I think I may have a play for attrition, but his heavy stuff is kind of spread out, so it's hard for me to catch more than one of them with the Mangala, for example, which is obviously the strongest piece to get through armor 24.
Yeah.
With the chain weapon, is actually doing it quite easily, but with positioning it was hard to get him to where I wanted him to be.
Yeah.
So in the end, I decided to go for a quite cheeky assassination plan.
A very cheeky one, I'd say. Like, seeding it, yeah, go on.
Yeah, so the main parts of it is that I spawned because of Kane dying, I got a corpse. So I spawned a Risen very aggressively. And instead of turning that Risen into a Thrall Warrior, I just activate Alexia's unit and run. And I run the Risen just across the wall, engaging Vlad, and then getting both cover and engagement bonus on the Risen. And then proceed to kill my own Alexia with Nemo. And so by doing that, I promote the Risen I ran into close to Vlad to the leader. And since Alexia is dead, they are not spell warded anymore.
Yeah.
Which
is the cheeky bit. That's really like cool little tech.
Yeah, and I mean it may not seem that kind of worth it to get a Risen there instead of a Thrall Warrior, but that point of defense is actually very significant when it comes to getting that boosted 10 that you need with Siege. So I think it goes from something like 75% to get a boosted 11 with a reroll from the Squire, down to up to 86% to get a 10 with the Squire. So it's actually quite considerably. It almost cut the risks in half with the Force Hammer move to be able to get Vlad knocked down. And then I just proceed to throw a lot of attacks into his objective and some stray mechanics that are in my way, so I can get the Mangler onto Vlad.
Knock down Vlad.
And a knock time, he can camp as much as he like, basically, at that point. And I also had to, it was also due to him moving within my Watcher range at the very end of his turn, so I could use that to extend the threat range of the Mangler.
Yeah.
Because I need to move towards him, but I don't need to move directly towards him. So I'm basically able to arc my Mangler moving from the 12 o'clock position down to almost like a 4 o'clock position from the model that he engaged me with.
Yeah.
And extend the threat with the Mangler with basically 4 inches or so. So it's then at that point, it's just apply Mangler to face and spend an hour and a half, something like that, watching excruciatingly watching other team members play out their games. I was impressed by the list Derek had, and I think his game plan was very sound. Just as Tomasz said, if he can force me to make a mediocre feat, even though killing that amount of mana wars is very good, obviously. Still, it puts me in a bit of a tricky position the turn after, because I need to be able to power through a lot of his solos. Yeah, and Behemoth was unscratched. And
did Behemoth destroy the objective on his turn as well? Was that on on his turn before he died. Yeah.
He did. Behemoth killed the objective, and he was able to tag the gun mage captain I brought out from Nemo as well.
Yeah.
So he did a lot of work.
Cool. So yeah, but that ends the run with a 3-2 victory for you guys. So you take the event home, which is awesome. So congratulations again. Yeah, it was super cool. Like going into the weekend, like I've streamed like a lot of games. I don't know how, like I got like, I don't know, like over 100 games or something streamed on the channel of Wartable games. But I never worked out how to like actually change between different windows. So the way like Wartable and like streaming software works is it basically just doesn't like, you've got to be on that window. And then it was a clusterfuck, but I managed to sort it out the week before. But it meant having like altering like the HTML like title names for all the different windows. So basically, I had to set up all the games, edit names, and then sort of alter like 3 or 4 different like screen captures per table. So I had to like do all that manually between the rounds, which was great fun. But it meant that Ben Tomasz could come and join me, and we could basically just flip through as if we were like the WTC, and we could flip through the tables and go, oh, this is what's happening on this table, this is what's happening on this table. So it was super fun to do. It was great laugh for me, and I think a lot of people watched. I think we had like probably like coming towards like 2,000 people have watched them so far since the event. So cool.
Well, yeah, it was really appreciated. I mean, I've not had a chance to go back and watch them all yet, but I'm sure people who are watching them live appreciate it. And when I get some free time, I'm definitely going to go back and watch all the games. So
yeah. And
you're doing a good service for us, that's for sure.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, the first round on the Saturday was a little bit more ropey, where I had to just leave Ben to it and go and like feed my kids and stuff like that. But yeah, the rest of it was a lot smoother, a lot better. It was lots of fun. So yeah, so you guys finally get the win there, and take up the event. Hopefully that Ryan and the rest of the team will run one again next year, because like it's I think it's still got like popularity. Hopefully, it'll still be a balance of things, because I'm still playing like in various leagues and enjoying it, even though like got like a local club like 10 minutes away that we're playing games at, and we're doing Steamrollers and practice days. But I'm still like, well, I can play against like the Aussies and the Canadians and the Americans and people all over wherever in different lists. So
yeah,
still think there's a
lot less people playing online.
Yeah,
there's still that hardcore of people that still are going to keep doing it, as well as it's good to have that. And then I think there's a lot of people that probably wouldn't ever want to play in a VTC, but it's still nice to have like 100 stream games up. You can just, even if you don't ever want to play online, just throw on a stream game every now and again.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and maybe it's just because like I'm an IT nerd. Like part of my degree was like tech learning stuff. So it's like I was like, I can see it as a good learning tool. But So
I mean, it's only it's like 100 people playing it, but probably way more than people than that actually enjoy it. Just watching the streams. Yeah,
for sure, absolutely. So, well, thanks very much for joining me tonight. Sorry it's gone a little bit, like maybe like an hour longer than I planned. But I really appreciate you hanging around for it. And so well done. And hopefully,
good to be on.
Hopefully everyone will see most people in Belgium. Hopefully someone will stream it as well. So I know that there's been issues.
Someone
of the...
I will say that it's great fun to go over those games again and relive those moments. So thanks for having us. And I also hope Ryan and all those guys involved into organization of VTC are going to do this again. Even though I wasn't playing Warmachine, I was happy to jump into this one. It doesn't take much to play in this event compared to, for example, WTC, where you kind of need to commit part of your life to play Warmachine. Here you can just even you don't need trousers. you can just play on your computer however you like. It's very easy.
Trousers for WTC, right?
Yeah, that's true. Although, it's very easy tool to keep the game going alive, to have something going on in the media, to have people connected all over the world, even people that are not playing in WTC. So I think this event should stay. And if Ryan and Tom and other guys you are listening, you need to make it again. If you're not going to make it again, I will. I won't.
Super good organization, and I didn't notice a single hiccup in the organization. It was amazing how smooth everything went. So super impressed. Yeah.
Yeah, they put a lot of time into making the framework there, and it's really robust. So yeah, all kudos to the guys for doing so. Yeah, hopefully they'll continue to do so. Cool. Well, Golly, Daniel, and Tomasz, and Justin, obviously, you just had to get back to work. Thank you very much for joining us, and I'll leave you get on with your evenings or go to bed, depending on probably that for most of us. And once again, congratulations, and hopefully see you all soon.
Thanks for having me on,
guys.
Yeah.
See ya.